Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, June 4th. We've got 1 week, I suppose, like at the end of this week, starting I think what Friday is E3. So we've got a lot of things to do. First thing to do is we have a watch and learn, so on my Asian account, we don't want to lose that. Instead, what we want to do is trade out this for something better. And in trading that out, now we need Priest, Warlock victories and a Druid and Rogue victory. Since it's the Asian account and we don't have a lot of people that are on when I'm streaming, we'll try to add a bunch of random people. The Tavern Brawl comes back in a day. So let's hop into it and I assume go with some Priest gameplay. I doubt I'd have a great Warlock deck, but I guess we could try it for the first time. Anyways, so tons of news as usual. A little bit of a good news, a little bit of a bad news. Started playing Borderlands 2 and there's this tutorial area in Borderlands 2 where you start, and then there is basically a larger tutorial area right after that that has introduces missions, shields. The first tutorial area you don't even have a gun, but because of all my DLC content, I had lots of guns that I wasn't supposed to have. It's a very different experience, particularly considering I have like 98 golden keys. So, yeah, as soon as I get to Sanctuary, which is a little bit of a slog, I don't really remember how long it is, but it feels like it's going to be somewhere around 5 hours, 6, maybe even 10 hours before I can get to Sanctuary. So I'm right past the point where you fight Boom Boom, which is the first, like, I guess, memorable special fight, and before you fight the boss after Boom Boom, I would say. So I'm 4 hours into playing Borderlands 2, and I'm already bored. I'm playing as the assassin, and it's just like, man, this is such a slow grind. And the character doesn't move fast enough, and also this game is like 6 years old now, so the graphics are not looking that great. But I have also seen some concerning screenshots of Borderlands 3 where it seems like they're getting more and more away from the cartoony art style and more closer to an appearance that just looks like everything else that has ever been done as far as a first-person shooter game. Just a militaristic first-person shooter. Also, at least for the assassin character, he doesn't have any skill points that seem to increase experience. So they've taken that out from the first game. I also don't think that there are anywhere as many skills that you can upgrade in Borderlands 2. Inherently, the main problem I'm having in the first 4 hours, besides it just being slow and a slog for somebody who's played Borderlands 1 and all the DLC several times, is there's just not a good introduction to the characters. They desperately need for you to be able to play as each of the characters and then decide who you want to play as. So have that small intro section, intro tutorial section, just put down a level 50 assassin and say, play as the assassin. Do you like these abilities? Do you like his action skill is. Do you like how this game's going to play? Because depending on the character you pick, you really are playing a rather different game based on your character in Borderlands 1 and 2. Since I played it as the Siren in Borderlands 1, nearly every time I played the game, it was always very fast-paced and designed around moving faster, where if you're playing as the sniper, that's probably rather slow-paced, and now I'm playing as the assassin, who is half fast-paced and half slow-paced. So the assassin in Borderlands 2, I think he's kind of a mixture between the sniper and the Siren in a weird way. I've got to get through at least the main story, but maybe I'll take a break after the DLC. There's so much DLC. Another major problem is, since it imports in, like, Borderlands 2 knows that you have a save file for Borderlands 1 and it will give you a small reward, but it doesn't let you bring in any kind of skills or levels or upgrades. So I'm back to only being able to hold like 12 items and have 2 guns equipped, and I'm at level 1 when I start the game. It's a very slow experience, when in fact I'd rather just skip to the New Game Plus experience where you can hold lots of guns, because the game is just not designed for the character that you start as. I'm already running into having too much inventory and playing menu hero, which is not something I want in my life ever. So yeah, it's starting off on a rocky note, but I am playing it. It's running in the backgrounds right now. No audio, thank goodness for that. But there has been quite a bit of exhausted sighs too.
Reporting for duty.
It's probably a good thing that there's a decent chance that Borderlands 3 will not be announced at E3, or and that it's several years potentially still in development, because at least for me, and probably only for people like me who are going back to play the game, there's definitely some burnout too. And that they just released, or they're in the process of re-releasing a remaster of Borderlands 1 on modern consoles. So if somebody is going to run through all of that again, they probably don't have enough energy in them to play Borderlands 3 or Border Worlds, whatever it's called, when that happens. And I think, I'm not sure the Handsome Jack really remastered any of the textures or graphics. Doesn't seem like it did. So that's not a... It's not a good re-release of Borderlands 2 and Borderlands pre-sequel. Who knows if I'll ever get any time to play the pre-sequel. And I had said at the beginning of streaming I was going to play it solo, but in retrospect now, if I did have somebody that was just going to power level me, some level 65 max level character, I don't know if there even is a max level in Borderlands, they're just going to power level me and jump me up in levels to level 35 or something, I probably wouldn't be upset about it. But it wouldn't be a realistic representation of playing the game, particularly by yourself, which is probably how you're going to play Borderlands 2. At least for the first run, I could see wanting to do that. Yeah, I'm not seeing how this Warlock is going to run. Alright, let's start talking about modern games, or games that just came out. We have one called the Sunset 2096. Says it's an RPG action indie survival game with top-down. Top-down, I assume, is a weird tag. It has a trailer, it looks fancy, but then the screenshots tell me that this looks like a real-time strategy-based building game set on what I can only assume is the surface of Mars, with just tons of shades of red everywhere. Let's see. It's $1.39 with it being 30% off. See, I can play this and irritate the guy, but that's about all I can do. This is from a developer who's made, let's see, 3 other games, one of which was called The Sunset, that came out June 13th, 2016. The only game that's ever been reviewed by this is mixed, so I think we can ignore that game. I haven't gone through any of these, any of the news or anything today, so there's been no special effort to filter things. TechRaptor has an article, Devil May Cry 5 domain name registered. So with that, that ultimately kills DMC as the reboot, which is, I guess, to be expected. It would have been kind of cool if DMC and Devil May Cry as a series both continued telling the same story in slightly different ways, but that nobody could afford for the brand confusion there. So the fact that they went from Devil May Cry 4, and that's been out for a very long time, and decided the reboot didn't work, now going back to 5, it's fine. I think the truest fans did. I do not count myself as one of the Devil May Cry series. The hardcore fans that will be happy with Devil May Cry 5, assuming it's a good game, which, if I'm remembering correctly, there has been like 4 at least, well, of course there's been at least 4 Devil May Cry games, and one of them was really bad. So 3 good games to 1 bad game implies that Devil May Cry 5 might be another bad game in just a general understanding of how things tend to go. If you compare it to, say, like Assassin's Creed, where Assassin's Creed 1 wasn't that good, and then Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood were good, but then Assassin's Creed Revelations wasn't that good, and then Assassin's Creed 4 wasn't that good, but then Black Flag was really good, and then there's Unity and Syndicate weren't very good, but Origins is good. Like the Assassin's Creed series, I guess, is an even worse example, because they don't even hit 50% as far as the good games versus the bad games. But it does kind of feel like 5 might be bad. However, there's been enough time for them to try to avoid that, and with enough time and with enough effort, one has to believe that you can ensure every sequel in your series is good. The Mario series, for example, is pretty obvious on that. Like Super Mario Brothers 2, the original Super Mario Bros. 2, that are known as the Lost Levels in the West, is kind of the only example of a bad game at the beginning. Let's just silence this guy while we're doing it. But Mario Brothers 1, Mario Brothers 2 as it was released in the West, which was I think it was a Doki Doki Panic game. No, it was something else. and then Super Mario Bros. 3, and then Super Mario World on Super NES. Like, you could say Sunshine was bad, certainly, but Galaxy was good. So, because the Zelda series is another great example of a series where they just take their time and make sure it's good, or they don't release it. So I think Devil May Cry has a slightly better chance because of the passion behind it and the time they're taking to be a good game. But it does run up into the danger of being a bad game, particularly since I'm pretty sure this is Capcom, and Capcom is pretty notorious for releasing bad games of beloved series. Bad money grabs for Resident Evil being a great example of that. But then again, Resident Evil 7 may have been a turning ground for them, and they may have decided to stop doing that. We'll have to see. There is certainly a lot of interest in my head for a new Devil May Cry, even as somebody who admittedly isn't the biggest fan ever of him. Alright, moving on. Gamasutra has an article. macOS has an updated App Store on the way, complete with a new review API. Let's see.
Reporting for duty.
One of the things that is going to happen is they are getting rid of the OpenGL support, OpenGL ES in particular. So that inherently means that a lot of games are not going to be supported anymore, and a lot of programs are just not going to be supported anymore through the App Store. Also, I think they're getting rid of support of the 32-bit apps if they haven't already done that. Remember, this is an app store for not the iPhone and the iPad, but for just iMac computers. So it's the even worse.
You are the Shadow's puppet.
Let's just keep on
I hope
doing
you like my
this.
invention.
And then in the turn. So let's see. Along with the Apple is rolling out a review API for Mac apps that, again, like with iOS, allows developers to build a review prompt directly into their game. This allows players to publish store rankings and a brief text review without leaving the app. Something that in theory should boost the number of reviews a title receives by taking unnecessary friction out of the process. So expect now macOS apps to constantly bug people, and that does not sound like fun. I'm losing here. I don't know how I lost so much health in one turn. So big changes for macOS as I understand it. No more 32-bit apps, so anybody with an old game is not going to be allowed on the App Store, but I think also it's going to pop up a warning saying that the code's not optimized just because it's a 32-bit app. And I wouldn't be surprised if they even try to go to the point where they disallow people from actually playing their old games on Mac. Gaming on Mac is definitely not the best way to game, certainly, but if you have a Mac, there are certainly a lot of old games that can be played on it. I've been trying to see if I could find somebody with a MacBook or a Mac OS product to see how the Lego games would run on them. FTL, I'm sure would run fine. Plague Inc., I'm sure would run fine. Binding of Isaac, I'm sure would run fine. Any Hearthstone, I imagine, will run fine. Any game that even is more of a laid-back game and not a high-intensive graphics-oriented game should run just fine on a Mac. I imagine even Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2 would probably run just fine on a decently powered Mac OS thing. Whereas I would say probably The Witcher 3 might have some trouble.
Is someone
Depending on what you actually have under the hood of those computers. And there certainly is an effort there to move people to the bare metal AMD driver programming language instead of doing OpenGL or an NVIDIA graphics card or DirectX. But so many games are heavily programmed in DirectX that you're having to use DirectX for Macintosh for a lot of games. And frankly, I'm not an expert in it as I don't have Apple products, and I don't think anybody who's serious about gaming should have Apple products, and I don't think people who are serious about doing things around even computers should have Apple products. It screams a laziness to learn Windows and deal with Windows. Because that is the #1 reason that people buy Apple products, is because they don't want to deal with Windows. And as somebody who's dealing with Windows 10, it's not really a big deal. I barely install anything ever, but I know that when I go to install a game, it will run just fine. Or usually will, at least. When I want to try some random program, I know it will be programmed for Windows and work for Windows. The same cannot be said for Mac a lot of times. Moving on, there's a game called the Wilting Amaranth, Amaranth on Steam. It says a sexual content, casual female protagonist romance. This is a visual novel romance thing. I will give it some points for having a different art style, and this is not an attempt, it seems, at all to be anime in any way. It's instead its own thing, as best as I can explain it. It's a really good Western art style of animation, is what I would call it, and I can't really call it anything else. On top of that, there is a nice, well-textured paper-like background that is behind all the dialogue boxes. The characters, on the other hand, it seems like there's only 2 characters, so it is also, I guess, not going for that Japanese style of having multiple people to pick from. And I think inherently for a visual novel, I think that's where there is kind of this divide, that this game only supports English. It's 10% off for $4.49. Yeah, there definitely is a divide when there's maybe in this game only 2 potential, maybe 3, I guess, if the protagonist is not even a character shown on screen. If you're not doing like, okay, yeah, it says under features 2 character routes, 3 to 5 hours of gameplay. yeah, if you're not doing 4 or 5 different people that you could pick and branching it, it's more like you're just telling an animated story, which would probably be better done as a comic book. And that is the weird part about this. This developer has made, I think, maybe 3 or 4 other games, one of which is rated positive. The rest are not rated at all. Let's see, can I win or am I just wasting my time? I think I'm probably just wasting my time. Since there's only two character paths in this game, that you don't have a large variety of character styles. There's one with pink hair, one with brown hair, and one with black hair, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're playing as the character with brown hair.
Reporting for duty.
It doesn't look bad, but I don't know where I am at with visual novels, other than I would definitely do want to cover them, even if I'm not gonna play them because of YouTube. Worth mentioning that YouTube Creator Studio had a video, and in the title it said update on the YouTube Partner Program, or YouTube Partner Program update, I think was the exact phrase. And all it was a sentence saying, yes, we're still working on getting all of the accounts that we were supposed to have already approved for the YouTube Partner Program months ago approved. So the thing that's been going on behind the scene and hasn't been talked about too much is that anybody who did not automatically get grandfathered into the YouTube Partner Program by having over 4,000 watch hours, which is one person watching for an entire half of the year, and over 1,000 subscribers, which is what knocked me out, because I didn't have that much watch hours. I simply did not have 1,000 subscribers, which it's kind of ridiculous that they require you to have 1,000 subscribers when they don't even care about subscribers, and since then have messed with the subscription feed to the point where they're saying, well, yeah, we don't really care what the subscribers want. Even if I had the day after I'd been kicked out of the YouTube Partner Program gone from 999 to 1,000 subscribers have been approved, it doesn't matter. I still wouldn't have been approved by this point, because basically nobody's been approved. And the way they're looking at it is they're looking at the people with the most amount of subscribers and watch time first for approval, and so they're not even treating people fairly. It is blatant and clear preferenceism. Let's spectate. We have a watch and learn, so this will be good enough to watch. And nothing's really changed there. It's going to be weird too, because E3 is going to have YouTube at E3, so I don't know if I really want to bother to watch that stream. It'll probably be earlier than I want to wake up anyways, but that would certainly be a weird one to watch and see what they're gonna, because you know they're just gonna push YouTube Red products and YouTube Music and the biggest people ever. They'll probably have celebrities like Markiplier or something on the set, on the stage, and they'll have nothing to say, because it's going to be really hard for YouTube to say that they support love gamers and streamers of games and video game critics when they really don't care whatsoever and haven't done anything for them. I thought it would be funny to go to like VidCon and just sit in front of it with a cardboard and a jar begging for money, and just have a cardboard sign that says, "Please help, small-time YouTuber, any pennies will do," and just protest the thing. If I was closer and bolder, I might do something like that. Unfortunately, no, it's not worth the effort. But it'd be funny if somebody was going to VidCon and just in the front they're just begging for money, because that's every small YouTuber. All we were ever getting was pennies, and Google stole that from us. Meanwhile, there's still articles about the big people they're supposedly getting all that money now, talking about how they're burned out and how they can't make money either, so it's just falling apart everywhere. TechRaptor has a article, Red Dead Redemption 2 to feature PlayStation exclusive content, editions detailed. There's our watch and learn, that didn't take too long. So let's open that. Let's see. Special edition will be $79.99. It will include a bank robbery mission and gang hideout, a dappled black thoroughbred horse, a talisman and medallion gameplay bonuses, which interesting that there's going to be magic and talismans in the game. The Nuevo Paraiso gunslinger outfit, free access to additional weapons, and gameplay boost, cash bonuses, and discounts, which screams, I suppose, that Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to have microtransactions. Interesting. 3 of these cards were new. Or 2 of them were new. Well, 1 of them was new. Whatever. The Ultimate Edition, on the other hand, is $99.99. Let's see, we're still looking for Priest and Warlock or Druid and Rogue. Let's see if we can keep it interesting and try a Druid or Rogue victory. Jeez, I don't want to play Hand Druid. That thing never wins. Okay, the Ultimate Edition includes the Black Chestnut Thoroughbred Horse, bonus outfits for your online character, rank bonuses, free Survivor Camp theme, free access to additional weapons online, plus everything I mentioned before. The PS4 version of pre-ordering also includes the Warhorse, the Outlaw, Survival Kit, cash bonuses for Red Dead Redemption 2 Story Mode, bonus GTA 2 million to spend immediately in your Grand Theft Auto Online.
The light shall bring victory.
Let's see.
Back.
There seems to be no indication here that pre-ordering it for Xbox gets you anything at all. The game is scheduled for release October 26, 2018, by the way. Everything I just heard about Red Dead Redemption 2 makes me very fearful for the success of the product and less likely to want to play. Because it seems like they are doing a lot of microtransactions and GTA Online stuff in it, and I don't even have a guarantee in my head that it is a good product to begin with. So, seeing that they've sold out before they've even shown trailers of the game to catch my attention says something. Of course, there's also the issue that Red Dead Redemption 2 was not coming to PC, and I knew that, so I'm fine. Maybe one day Red Dead Redemption 1 will come to PC, or the game that is the predecessor to that, which is Red Dead something else. Deal 2 damage, character. this.
Our town, scrub.
Yeah, beat it.
Return this. Do this.
Our town,
Here we
Hit
go.
this.
Beat it.
And combo this up to that. Enter. PC Gamer has an article, Jurassic World Jeeps are coming to Rocket League. So there's more promotion of Jurassic World. I'm certainly in my head having some confusion with the new movie Jurassic World and whatever the name of the previous movie was called. Because I don't think it was called Jurassic Park. Was it called Jurassic Islands? No, that doesn't sound right.
Monsters behind you.
Let's just power up this guy
You're
too.
looking at me.
So yeah, the new one is called Jurassic World. I have no clue what the third movie was called. I know it was Jurassic Park, Jurassic Park 2. And maybe it was just called Jurassic Park 3 with some kind of subtitle.
You have bet.
Moving on, PC Gamer has an article. NVIDIA CEOs, it will be a long time before next-gen GeForce GPUs, which kind of makes sense. They just, with the 10 series, had introduced their new CUDA core technology. So that is one way to interpret that, to say that yes, we'll have new graphics cards, back to Priests and Warlocks now, but they're not going to have new GPUs, as in actual graphics processing units. The other way to look at that is to believe to interpret that as him blatantly lying and saying that the 1180 is not in production right now and about to come out, which we've seen way too many rumors about the 1180 to really believe that that's the case, unless somebody has done a really good job photoshopping and making rumors about a card that actually is not out. The subtitle to this article is, the only GeForce graphics cards news from Computex keynote was a veiled no comment. So it's kind of funny. PC Gamer has this whole article to really talk about how there's nothing to say as far as NVIDIA. It's a little weird that they came out of Computex and didn't announce something, but not crazy. Moving on, PC Gamer also has an article. Microsoft is making a giant open source play by acquiring GitHub for $7.5 billion. The leading software development platform will soon belong to Microsoft. There's several other Git repositories out there, but GitHub, for like for instance, GitLab is one referenced in this article, but people have not been very fast or eager to move away from GitHub. Of course, if you're not developing software, you're probably never using GitHub anyways. Maybe you'd use it if you're trying to install some weird packages or plugins for Linux. That's my only real experience with it. And every now and then I'll follow software, hoping one day for the software to actually work and end up on the GitHub page. But for most people, you're easily well enough off by not even knowing what GitHub is. Let's go play this. Next game we have on Steam is called Gunman Tales. It says it's an early access action adventure indie RPG. It kind of looks like a... I don't know what you would call this. Hogan's Alley? Was that the name of that light gun game on NES where you shot enemies? Seems like there's a whole group of mini games here where you're playing as a cowboy. It's almost like if you were trying to make something like Oregon Trail but make it a better game. There's several well animated. It does have kind of a pixel art aesthetic to it, but it's not super pixel arty. It's more along the lines of something you just expect from an older game than this actually is. I like the way this looks. I like this idea. What's the name of this game? Gunman Tales. It's early access, 10% off for $7.19. I'm not sure I ever need to scroll down to look at reviews, as I'm trying to save myself time. It's from a developer who's made 3 other games that are positive and 1 that is negative. So that doesn't sound too bad. Heal. Kill this one in return. So yeah, Gunman Tales, one going to the wish list. Feels like a game that could easily be a sleeper hit and something people will, if people actually see it, people would actually like. Which is what we're always on the lookout for when looking for new games, is what is something that the mainstream video game media is going to forget or not see or miss, but actually does look interesting. As a side story, the Go series, most notably that would be Hitman Go, Lara Croft Go, and Deus Ex Go. I'm not sure if there were any other Go series from Square Enix, has now been officially canceled, put on hold. The idea there, I imagine, is that since they don't have the license to Hitman anymore, it would just be Lara Croft Go and Deus Ex Go, and since Deus Ex isn't succeeding greatly, then that just leaves you with Lara Croft Go, and since Lara Croft is still not playing a major role as a entire genre series, it has some problems too. By all rights, that is Lara Croft is a severely underdeveloped product license, because there should be the main game, there should be a side game, there have been side games, they didn't catch people's attention, and there should be a Lara Croft Go game, and that didn't catch people's attention either. So, seems like Square Enix, with their management interference, fails to really let a game like that thrive. It wouldn't have been a bad idea
I will
for them
fight
to
with
let
honor.
her
The light
be
shall
in a
bring
Telltale
victory.
game. Just license out Warcraft to a Telltale game and say, alright, that will allow them to tell a story and do something very interesting. I think of all this right now because there's an announcement that has been teased for Hitman, which is not Square Enix anymore, for June 7th, so very possibly Hitman Season 2, question mark, or I'm a definitive edition, maybe. But I think the definitive edition has already come out. Yeah, the definitive edition came out in May, so unless there's a new place to release it, I'm not sure what you could do with that. Let's do this. And in the turn, PC Gamer has an article. Amazon's Fallout 76 pre-order page originally indicated the July release date. Could be a mistake, or it could be a sign of things to come. I think everybody has heard from everybody. This is like one of the worst kept secrets that we've seen in the video game industry for a while. I think everybody has heard from everybody that this game, Fallout 76, is probably going to be available for purchase as it's announced at E3 at the end of the week. There's still a lot of speculation on what it is, and not a lot of detail there, but if you're to believe Amazon, it is selling for like $50 on PC and $60 on Xbox One, which seems weird. So it's like a full price product. Of course, could be that the listing's real and the price is wrong. Like any number of things could be the truth there. So everybody really just needs to hold their horses on Fallout 76 because disappointment will probably be the end result on this one. Gematsu has an article. Metal Max Xeno launches September 25th in North America and September 28th in Europe. This is it's launching for the PS4. It's a $60 game. What kind of? It's a tank. Yeah, this is the game where you're driving tanks and fighting, and it's from some kind of series called Metal Max that I've never even heard of. So this is going to be kind of a weird Japanese release that is going to feel a little odd. Just calling this for waste. I'm getting little hints of music in the background. I wonder if that is Borderlands 2 playing music in the background because I didn't mute it. Either that or there's music happening outside of my house that I'm hearing through my headphones and microphone. We got a game on Steam called Box It. It says it's a classic arcade puzzle game from different perspectives with 300 puzzles to solve and full workshop support. So this is kind of an asset flip, but I think it would be a little unfair to just immediately dismiss it as that, because it seems like it's a box pushing puzzle game that has taken assets and done something rather nice with them. It is a third-person over-the-shoulder puzzle game where you're playing as an actual human pushing boxes.
I must consider
this. So, depending on the price of this game, it would probably be alright to play. In fact, it would be rather good to play something like this after playing some cheap 50-cent box puzzling game as a comparison. The problem I'm seeing here, and it may not kill it, is that there's DLC here for different maps and DLC for different level packs, which really does kind of feel like this is a pretty low effort game, and I'm not sure I want to reward the amount of low effortness here on this thing. But it is an actual game, and it's actually, see, it looks like it works. And the one thing I always want to do is try to reward people that make a finished product instead of making a garbage products. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and wishlist box it. Even though I know this is just pre-bought assets that are getting resold. For the most part, they've been mixed together to make a very simplistic game that I think a good single person could make a video game like this. The price is way too expensive at $5. This should be a $1 game, but that's something I'm willing to overlook and keep it on my wish list and then reevaluate it if it ever goes on sale. Inherently, a significant portion of, let's just play casual at this point, we're not getting anywhere with ranked. A significant portion of what's on my wish list are games that as soon as I see the name, as soon as I see the thumbnail, I immediately know what the game is, remember the game, and want to play it. Where Boxed It is going to be a game where I'm like, it's in the other category of like, what is this game? Why is it on the wish list? I know I'll forget it almost instantly. Gematsu has an article, YouTube Live at E3 2018 announced. It says it starts Sunday. Let's see. Let's read this to see if they're really going to be on stage announcing anything, or if this is just going to be some attempt at like a recap stream where actually nobody's even on stage or something like that, where they have no actual news to say. Yeah, particularly if it's happening on Sunday, that means it will be past all the streams that actually matter. So it says, starting Sunday, June 10th at 12 p.m. Pacific Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, YouTube plans to broadcast 16 hours of live coverage at E3 2018. The broadcast will include live simulcasts of all major press conferences, including Microsoft, Bethesda, Softworks, Ubisoft, Sony, as well as premiere gameplay demos, exclusive interviews with top game developers, and appearances from YouTube's top gaming content creators such as Ali A, Angry Joe, Boogie2998, 2988, iJustine, MatPat, Typical Game, Big Star, and more. And I think half of those people are hated by one group of people, while the other half is hated by the other. That's 16 hours, first of all, is way too much. It seems like they're rebroadcasting all the other things. They are directly competing with what I was planning on doing now. So when I live stream, YouTube is probably going to push people to watching their stream over my stream and every other YouTuber's stream. The only thing I could think that might arguably make this a good thing is that it might be a fight against Nintendo, which they did this last year, and Nintendo Content ID claimed things that they legally had no right to Content ID and claim in multiple ways, particularly considering these are advertisements, and the advertisements and trailers cannot be copyrighted written. Maybe this is an attempt to stop that, but the bigger thing is this is YouTube literally trying to get views for their own benefit against their partners. This is, for me, kind of the same feeling PUBG has with when Epic comes out and makes a Battle Royale game after you had just worked with them to make a Battle Royale
if you're
game.
sure.
Which, fair, I guess competition is competition, but it's not fair competition when the people who are making the video also own the service and can push and cheat so that views go on there. It says, continuing on Monday, June 11th, popular Twitch streamer Tyler Ninja Blevins will join Jeff Cayley, which is he's the guy kind of in charge of E3, or sort of. He's a big guy, at the very least, a big deal person.
The shadow's puppets.
He'll join him as special host, and music producer DJ Marshmallow will join Ninja for a live Let's Play and debut of his new track Tell Me for an upcoming album Joy Time 2 due out June 22nd. What in the heck does that have to do with E3? Like, this is really just the crazy. We've got to promote everything and anything. We've got to get as many ads for things out during E3 as possible. I have half a thought that everybody will also be wearing Twitch hats and drinking Coca-Cola and eating Wendy's burgers and going to Taco Bell or something. It's like it seems like it's gonna turn into a NASCAR thing where there's just patches all over the people's outfits.
Hey, give me that.
Well, that doesn't inherently change my plans, because fortunately, at least for my channel, because it has no chance of success in the first place, I can just do whatever I want to do anyways, and I guess that's what I'll do. So I'm going to cover the E3 things I'm awake for. As for YouTube Live at E3, yeah, they're just rebroadcasting things. They're not going to have anything to announce or say. And even if they did announce something interesting, don't worry, I'll get that information and rebroadcast that later. I'll report on it. So I won't rebroadcast, I'll just report saying, yeah, they said they were going to do something, this and this. Moving on, next game we have on Steam is called Shiver the Lilies Requiem Collector's Edition. This is a hidden object game from our friends Big Fish Games, who flood Steam in a very, I guess, sort of responsible way. They seem to only release one hidden object game a week, maybe two, maybe three very well spaced out games a week at most, whereas most of the people who flood Steam flood them with a lot of garbage quality product in very quick succession. And I wouldn't say that the Big Fish games are garbage quality. I would say they are actually pretty good quality hidden object games. The problem is they are way too expensive just because they have collector's edition on the name of them. So this one is 0 discount for $12.99. And I think I'm done with hidden object games, frankly. Like, I don't see a real reason to get them. They're not speeding up my process in any way of covering games and getting more content out there. Nor does it really seem like making more content does anything for my channel really too much. Once they get to this point as a mage, there's no way to win for any of my decks. It's a silly thing to say, but it pretty much is the case. It's like, once they can get the ability to create elementals that do lifesteal damage, there's no way to win. Next game we have on Steam is called Metis 1. It says it's an action shoot 'em up local co-op game. Is it single player? 2? Yes. This is a very pixelated game, like MS Paint pixel graphics. Looks like garbage. It's $7.99 and it's not worth 99 cents, so let's close that. Move that on. Oops. I played that out of order by far.
Shells up!
Tech Raptor has a article, Agony Review - burnt out on hell. The thing I heard is that a lot of Agony's gameplay has you wandering around areas and double crossing your path, so you'll go from one place to another place and to solve a puzzle and unlock a door, and then you'll have to go back to where you were again for another reason to get like a different key, and so you're just crossing the same hallways over and over again in a very boring way. That the voice acting is really bad was another criticism. That it's incredibly dark, not that much is happening. So I really haven't heard anybody having anything too good to say about Agony, and it's not, at least people are swearing up and down that it's not because it's a game set in hell. A lot of people, myself included, would have been very happy to see a game set in hell and push the boundaries, but the actual gameplay, the actual voice acting, the actual story is just not there. Tech Raptor's final chapter on this review says Agony has decent ideas, but it fails to explore them in a meaningful way. There are moments where I can see Mad Mind's vision, but both the mechanics and world development bring everything down. Hell has some gorgeous vistas, however, if you can put up with the agonizing gameplay, it's worth playing through once to witness them. Just be sure no one walks in on you while doing so, which, remember that Agony is still full of the demon with the breasts. They give it a 4.0 mediocre rating, which Agony has a solid foundation, but Mastermind fails to bid on it in a meaningful way. Some of the gorgeous visuals are bogged down by poor game design and tasteless sexual content. Pros, some fantastic visuals, non-linear level design, which could be a pro or a con, and extra game modes. Cons, it's tasteless, it has awkward controls, lacks polish, and has a nonsensical plot. So, yeah. Maybe this would have been better, frankly, as a VR on rails game. I'm not a huge protagonist or not protagonist, but fan of on rails games. Not very many people are, but in this instance, it might be better if they had just told you the story and had you interact not at all, like a tunnel of horror type experience, or scary movie. Agony very well could have been a animated direct-to-DVD movie and satisfied their goals better, because it seems like their goals were designed around having showing some pretty visuals and not really having any gameplay. That is something I think every video game creator, developer has to think about is, do I really know how to and want interaction in my story? Or like the visual novel that we saw earlier today, is it better to just, or am I just trying to tell a story that I don't want people to be able to deviate from? Let's not do that. And that is part of the divide between a Japanese visual novel where you have 5 equally likely women or men that you can pair up with at the end, and you're leaving it open to the player to decide the fate of the story, compared to many Western visual novels where it's literally just a novel in visual form and it takes all interactivity out, or very little choice out. I'll have to be careful not to misuse the phrase ludonarrative dissonance, but the point is sort of there that you can pretty easily accidentally remove control from the player. We've got a game called Professor Madhouse on Steam. It's an adventure indie casual. Let's see, Professor Madhouse is an adventure game for logic for young children. Let's see. It kind of looks like it is a children-ified Incredible Machine-esque point-and-click adventure game. Doesn't seem like it really has levels as much as you go through a story, and each story would be a level.
You are the shadow's puppet.
I'm not seeing really any interface, so it feels like it might be a cell phone port. This is an English and Polish game, so I assume it was originally Polish. It's $1.99. And there's no reviews for it. This might be a good game for kids, it might not. I think it might be a cheap effort. This developer hasn't developed anything else, and however the publisher does have some credibility on what they've published. All the games that have been rated, one of which is Ultimate Fishing Simulator, have been rated well. So that gives me the feeling that there's enough there to justify putting Professor Madhouse on my wish list. At least. So, we're doing pretty good today if we've already got 2 games that I'm willing to roll the dice on. Next game we have is called Skip Chaser. It's a action indie RPG, twin-stick shooter, roguelike games in particular. A lot of people are burned down on them. I think myself very possibly included. Let's see. This guy would kill that, and that, and that. So this, and then this, and do that, and kill that. Then turn. So what is Skip Chaser? as far as the game.
Why do you call?
It has a low number of angles in its flat 2D animation style. Not to make it look like it's pixely, but just to make it look like it's a little bit blocky. And as I'm going through the screenshots, that plus the color palette seems to work against it to make the game just look visually unappealing. It says it's rating pending, $4.99.
I don't need any of you.
Let's see. And are there any reviews? Let's see, 22 positive reviews, 3 negative reviews. One not recommended says there's so little of the game it isn't worth checking out at the time. I shouldn't be looking at reviews though, because frankly I just do not have time to be looking at this. Interesting. Having 13 users get you a positive review. I think I value positive reviews on one screen differently than I value the same number of positive reviews on a different screen on Steam. So I don't think I'm applying a very good and across the board
one for all and all for me
system or evaluation to it. Yep, I think I can skip Chaser because it just does not look like it's visually appealing. Let's hit this. And then attack here. Next game we have on Steam is called A Quiet Mind. It says it's a adventure indie puzzle. It is. Instead, it looks like a 1990 3D graphics game. I don't know what this is. This an asset flip with a kind of weird filter on it. It probably is. There's just a little too much randomness in it. It says it's an adventure indie puzzle, but it looks to me like it's just garbage. And it's $1.99. It says solve puzzles that calm your mind. It's the only game from this developer, and I don't trust it, so I'm gonna close A Quiet Mind.
Mind if I roll knee?
For me!
I can't do that.
Let's keep on attacking. The next game we have on Steam is called The Piano. It's an indie adventure action horror game. It's got a trailer on it that is definitely trying to convince you to like the game. And put some real polish in this professional looking trailer. What does the real game look like though? It kind of looks like it might be a bit of an Alan Wake walk around and see some horrific events. Not inherently bad on the offset. The graphics do not look great. That is an issue. It's 25% off for $7.49. I think it's really trying though. Let's see.
Hey, give me that!
So the first review of 2 reviews says the game is a bit rough in its current state. While some horror elements exist and the story seems interesting enough to get involved in, the net of glitches and awkward pauses kind of ruined it for me. Graphics are about PS3 quality, levels are very simplistic, environments are not believable, at least the beginning stages. There are lots of clipping graphics and other visual glitches, like entire buildings having see-through textures, looking behind buildings to see through the world. There's a cool cartoonish cutscene at one point. And then the other positive review is long, and I don't read positive reviews. So
I hope you like my invention.
let's go ahead and squelch this guy. Since I have like no spells in this deck that could do 11 damage, I've already lost. The piano, I think, is probably not worth wishlisting, but I'm feeling generous, so I'm gonna probably do it anyways, just to keep an eye on it. There's a large collection of games on Steam that are similar to the piano, attempts by a single person to make a horror story and do it with a definite lack of ability to actually animate and make a proper game. And in a weird way, we kind of always go back to the same issue over and over again, where there's literally just a desire to tell a story but not an ability to make a game, or a desire to make a game but not an ability to tell a story, or there's a desire to show some fancy visuals but not an ability to make a game or tell a story. That has been kind of this running theme, whether you're talking about visual novels that really don't add gameplay mechanics, or Agony that doesn't really add gameplay mechanics or tell an interesting story but have some interesting visuals. Anyways, it's been an hour and 18 minutes. My timer is a little different right now, so I'm gonna run for slightly over an hour today. Also, I think it doesn't hurt anything to leave this and move over to the European. It's very possible that while I'm not intentionally planning on having E3 footage intertwined with me playing Hearthstone, I do think I will try to, I might be playing Hearthstone just in the background on my second screen if some of these streams get long, because there are long parts where people are just talking. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, gift me a game on Steam. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening. Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, June 4th, and we are on the European account. We still have some things, we needed some victories on the Asian account, but I guess I don't really need to get all 3 things done since we'll just do that on Wednesday. Right now, what have we got? We've got a 60 here with Hunter and Mage. We've got an overlap with Hunter, and we've got 2 victories with anything. So to get this, we would get this. To get this, with the Hunter, we would get this. So it probably makes sense to do this. This requires us victories in any mode, but we could do some of that somewhere else. So 3 games with Hunter and Mage now is what we're trying to do. Not too bad if we can actually get some victories, which, even though mid-range Hunter is one of these decks that actually can be done. I'm thinking it's probably time to get rid of the HS replay decks and build our own decks again. The truth is, they just haven't worked for over a month now. They did not give me crazy increased victory. Maybe they work for other people, but they are not working for me. Or maybe this HS replay is just showing you the ones that a lot of people play, and because of that there's an incorrect BIOS there. We got a ton of news, so let's go keep on going. We have a game on Steam called Gunheart, which is an action indie violent VR game. It says it's an online co-op RPG where you and your friends shoot monsters or insects, it looks like. Giant humanoid insect fly creatures. But it's VR, but doesn't require VR? Let's see. That's the weirdness here, is that half these games don't label themselves right in one way or in the other. Alright. 10 unique weapons, 40 plus weapon modifications, 9 campaigns, 11 challenge missions. Doesn't seem like it has too much for an online. VR players have a full suite of locomotion and comfort options. So you can play in VR, but you can also play without it. Let's see, there's 25 negative reviews versus 145 positive reviews. No servers for multiplayer, which I assume means no dedicated servers. Host advantage. Next not recommended says game's too broken to keep playing. What I did play of it wasn't at all that satisfying. Notably, the games are big guns and pea shooters. This is the only game where I've had issues with constant lag and reprojection. Didn't enjoy the game at all. I suppose that's a valid reason to write a review, is to say I just didn't enjoy it. It's not super well articulate, because that doesn't really tell people much. But if it's the truth, it's the truth. I do have to applaud this game, Gunheart, for at least going with giant humanoid fly-like creatures, which is not something we've seen. There's creatures like that in Resident Evil 4, and that's kind of it. So they are going in a different direction. But since this is really all online multiplayer, like, I don't see how I could justify playing this game. It says it's from the developers who brought you Halo and Gears of War and several other things, which I don't believe that's true. So now I've seen in the trailer them claiming that they had developers on a lot of other games, and yet I haven't heard about this game Gunheart from anybody, which makes me think, even though this game does look good, that they've lied to me. So I'm gonna close Gunheart for that reason, on top of the fact that it is frankly an online game. Next game we have on Steam is called Bullet Line. It's a 4v4 asset flip shooter game, and top-down twin stick shooter style, placing you in some random areas that are just asset flips. So there's nothing here that interests me. It's $14.99, and boy is that expensive. So I'm just gonna close that. I don't think any more investigation needs to be done. TechRaptor has an article, TechRaptor's Guide to Watching E3 2018 from Home. Let's see. So, let's see. I don't know how they've done this. I guess what they've done is they've shifted. They have this picture that's just shifted everything for you. So for Central Time, which is what I work off of, at 1 p.m. the EA press conference happens, and then 3 p.m. the next day, and then 8:30 p.m. the next day, and then at 3 p.m. and 8:30, that's 3 p.m. is Microsoft, and then Bethesda, and let's do this. This on the turn. And then let's see. At noon on Monday,
that belongs in a
there
museum.
is Square Enix, and then at 3 p.m. there's Ubisoft, and then at 5 p.m. Monday there's the PC Gaming Show, which I don't think I particularly care to stream, and at 8 p.m. there's Sony, and then on Tuesday they're at 11 a.m. is the Nintendo video presentation. So inherently I know I'm not doing Nintendo. Like, screw Nintendo. They're not going to be covering any PC games, and they're going to content ID everything. So forget that. And I don't think I'm doing the PC Gamer show, because I don't, unless I just have nothing better to do. But this does put us in a weird position where for the June the 9th, the Saturday, to Monday, June the 11th, throughout that entire day, I'm going to be taking this weird semi-vacation in which I'm going to try and
That's not a valid target.
yeah, what am I I'm gonna be taking this weird semi-vacation in which I'm gonna be covering things like EA stream. So there's gonna be a lot of going up and going down for all of that. I suppose we will probably try and schedule all of these live streams to start at those times, so there is a chance that I will schedule things and people will be waiting for my stream to start and I'll just be asleep. Apologies. I'm gonna preemptively apologize for that because that's very possible amongst things that could happen. Let's see. Let's go ahead and kill this. And this. Attack here. And then return. Let's see. The EA thing will be on the EA's Twitch stream, which will be a little bit odd. The Xbox will be on Xbox's Twitch stream. Bethesda will be on Bethesda's Twitch stream. Square Enix will be on Square Enix Twitch stream. So I think everything's coming through Twitch this year. The only one that is coming through YouTube is Square Enix Presents YouTube and Nintendo YouTube. So let's see. All of the events will be streamed via the Twitch account and the E3 2018 website. So so if we just follow Twitch's own Twitch account, then I won't have to do any real major effort to switch between different possible I've lost. Darn you game. Screw me over yet again.
I moves quickly.
So yeah, I'll be able to set up streaming of just the Twitch account to YouTube, which sure, why not? And then maybe I'll do something fancier than that, but I don't know if I really am. Like, I think a lot of my effort to switch back and forth really didn't add anything to it. And if I did like a border or something where around the edges it said E3 or Rydo or something like that, then it's just gonna clip off parts of the video for not great reasons.
Your magic shall not save you.
So yeah, it's gonna be mostly just a basic thing. I'm thinking maybe I'll have some text out and I'll try to make some notes. If I could type in notes on what was announced at E3 and see how good I am at that, which I'm probably not going to be that good. You might see on one side it just says previously announced and a catch-up to allow for that. I'm just going to switch ahead to casual for victories. I know I've only lost once this far, but that was a long game, and all these games are too long. I kind of wish Hearthstone would go down to like 10 health points. Just give me a mode where you win in the first 5 turns. or change your daily quests. That's really all they need to do, is just change the daily quests so they stop requiring victories. Let losers like me not bang my head against the wall. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article, Fear of the Reaper, Activision sunsetting Guitar Hero TV later this year. Guitar Hero TV was this weird issue where they were streaming music that you could play along with instead of you purchasing the music, for a way of, I guess, getting around licensing negotiations they didn't want to do. However, now they've still, probably for licensing reasons, are shutting that down, so the system didn't work that well in the first place. Inherently, the only way any Guitar Hero game, anything like that, is going to work is on the full admittance and acceptance that the US music copyright system is broken, and you need to just allow people to upload their own music into the game and make their own thing, because people have MP3s all over the place and they want to play their songs. And with the power of AI and cloud computing, I see no reason why it would be even difficult to have a cloud computing analyze an MP3 song, spit out a track with some buttons to match that music. I doubt that even requires cloud computing, and just be done with it. Meanwhile, Beat Saber is doing very good. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Dark Days of Horror. This one looks kind of like a garbage asset flip. And it is a garbage asset flip. For $34.99. Wow. They're trying to sneak in these terrible games right before E3. Wow. $100 to list a game to try and get a third of that back immediately on one sale. I suppose that is a question, is how many suckers do you really think are on Steam? Why not $100 to list your game and then set the price as $100 for one sale to make that money back, and two sales to make you $100. Next game we have on Steam, since obviously nobody cares about that one, is called Sorcery Saga: Curse of the Great Curry God. This is from Idea Factory, which I believe is a bigger developer. It's an action RPG strategy anime JRPG fantasy game. I believe we've even seen some coverage of this game. So it is still a JRPG game. It's got some cutesiness to it, but it is mostly dungeon crawling with a mix of cooking food and making curry as items that you use, if I'm reading the screenshots correctly. This is 40% off for $11.99, and it has 4 positive reviews and 1 negative review. And it says it's not recommended for diabetic folks. It was released on my birthday. It was the best cake I could have asked for. So it's a joke, not helpful. Like, was this helpful? No. And then when I click no, it says log in, so forget that. So I'm not sure I'm really in the market for a out there unrelated JRPG game. On the other hand, this might be a bit simpler and not as extremely long as Final Fantasy. Idea Factory is the people who publish things like Hyperdimension Neptunia and Mugen Souls, the developer for that. So they're a known item from making Japanese games, and so this is one that I guess I can wishlist, and I'll have to just evaluate. Do I want to play a maybe shorter JRPG that isn't connected into a larger universe that I feel like I would be committed into continuing? If I play Final Fantasy 1, for example, I feel like I have to play all 15 of the Final Fantasy games. Whereas if I was to play something that is a standalone game, Ni no Kuni might be a better version of that, but Ni no Kuni 1 I don't believe is on Steam. That would be the target equivalent game that I'd like to play, though, is Ni no Kuni 1, because I know that's Ghibli-esque animation designed for younger kids, and so it's going to be a simpler JRPG. Alright.
The dogs out.
Moving on, we've got a Your Gamer article, the bizarre story behind the first non-Valve game on Steam, told by someone called Chris Bratt. Let's see. The game was Doll Kung Fu, a fighting game created mainly by Mark Hensley while working for favorable developer Lionhead Studios in the early 2000s. That's in my turn. The video reveals how Hensley went on to co-found Little Big Planet maker Media Molecule, found himself demoing the side project to a huge crowd of game developers at the Game Developer Conference, and just a day later accepting $10,000 from Valve boss Gabe Newell to secure Ragdoll Kung Fu. Its release on Steam in 2005. And I imagine the point here is that the point here is that Gabe Newell wanted to release anything on Steam that was non-Valve at the Game Developer Conference, and he kind of just picked that game. Interesting, Your Gamer has this new thing at the bottom of their articles. It says games in this article. And that's interesting.
Let the hunt begin.
So, I'm gonna try and search Ragdoll Kung Fu on Steam. It says it was released October 12th on 2005. It's mixed reviews with 56 of 21 users giving it positive. And let's see what this is. It kind of doesn't look like much of anything. And it's single player and multiplayer. It's $9.99. Metacritic 69%. And so there might be historical reason to purchase this game. But
None will survive.
yeah, there might be a reason to wishlist this game, but for most people I think you pretty much ignore that. And sadly, the Eurogamer article there is not really telling you the story, it's just linking to the video, and I don't have an ability to watch a video and listen to somebody tell whatever bizarrely ridiculous story they want to tell. I suppose this is the beginning of nostalgia for the good old days of Valve and Steam. I guess the good old days for Steam was when the interface was very new and there was very few games on it, and now the interface is moderately improved and it's flooded with games. I think I like the modern Steam way better than any previous version. In fact, I think I'm enjoying very well the new Discovery 2.0 features. There is also a point that I was thinking about just yesterday about how much better Amazon.com is for shopping for a product than trying to find a product on Google Shopping. It's just nowhere the same experience. Where Google is perfectly fine for finding web pages, for finding things to purchase, it just doesn't work. Moving on, PC Gamer has an article, God of War 3, Nier, that would be Nier 1, Uncharted 2 are progressing well on PC with the PlayStation 3 emulator. Plus, also taken Tag Team Tournament 2, and Beyond Good and Evil HD and more. So the PS3 emulator that is out there is getting better and better, and I doubt it's gonna come down to a point where they're just gonna say every single game is at 100%. But I imagine just whenever you got into it. So if you get into running the PlayStation 3 emulator right now, I think you'll just see improvements very consistently going forward, and every now and then you'll have an announcement of this game is running very well now, we fixed most of the bugs. It's the Scum VM emulator is very similar, where if the programmers spend the extra effort to make sure a game runs very well, it will be close to 100% perfect emulation within 1 or 2 releases of the beginning of their effort. Otherwise, the game might be in a very early beta alpha stage where, yes, the game technically runs in the emulator, but it's not really accomplishing anything you'd expect it to be able to do. So,
I hunt alone.
kill that one. Next game we have on Steam is called Avalon Legends Solitaire 3. It's a solitaire game with a fantasy on top of it, fantasy element. It's one of the match cards solitaire games that seem to be slightly more popular than they should be on Steam. It's 10% off for $8.99. I doubt anybody's reviewed it. There's frankly too many solitaire games out there, and too many of them are literally just the same thing over and over again. This developer has a whole collection of fantasy themed card games and simple games that frankly just don't catch my attention for the $6.99, or is it $8.99? Yeah, it's $8.99 with 10% off. Just way too expensive.
Oh, the dogs out.
Playing. Next game we have on Steam is called Heroes of Offworld Arena. It looks like a attempt at a first-person shooter in like the vein of Quake Arena. However, the graphics also look like they are from that same time as Quake Arena, early 80s. Not very good. Lots of language support: German, simplified Chinese, Portuguese, and Russian. $8.99. I don't think anybody is going to be interested in that. So let's close that tab. Let's see, do we have a silence?
Your magic shall not save
In turn, next game we have is called Sail Ships. It too does not look visually good. Very flat, simplistic textures. Makes it look like it's painted. Well, it makes it look like it's made with the beginnings of some kind of programming interface without actual textures on anything. It's just not pretty. So let's see how much that is. And skip $1.99, not worth that much. Gamma Sutra has an article preparing a Windows 10 computer to be a permanent arcade installation. This is probably just a... Well, it's talking about setting the computer up to not install updates, to not... Which, not auto-installing updates is like an insane thought. It's software stuff that they're mostly talking about. Yeah, the vast majority of this article is all just setting up software settings. It's not talking about, oh, how are you building the arcade controls, how are you building the wood frame, what hardware, what software.
Let the hunt begin.
This is interesting because the Gamma Sutra lets you post any article pretty much if you're even slightly an important person in the video game industry. The first part of this is, this was originally posted on my Tumblr. It's just linking to his own Tumblr page. I really don't know what the state of Tumblr ever was or is right now. It could be that nobody's on it, could be that nobody important's on it, could be that there's nobody on it that you want to hear from. So there's it's never been a service that I've really used. Yes, I have a Tumblr account in case it's something other people use, and obviously a few people use it, but frankly the same is true for Facebook. It's not something I'm really using for my videos. Also, my Twitch account is finally caught up, so now it will just be automatically showing videos from YouTube. So yay for that, I suppose. But I think I would need as many, if not more, followers on Twitch to be monetized there as I do on YouTube. Maybe it would be better to put effort into doing that, but I'm not ready to make that leap. Moving on, there's a game on Steam called Rockshot. It's mostly negative, with 35% of 53 users giving a positive review. It seems to be a free-to-play. It looks like it's trying to be Fortnite. So it's in English and German. We've seen a lot of more German games or German language support. It says it's early access, free to play, so why do people hate it? Bad hit detection, non-stop lag, clunky UI, needs work at best, is the first not recommended review. Next one I see, it says not worth your time. Next one says fix your network, servers don't work. So network issues to the extreme, so we can close that. Not that I was going to play a Fortnite-like clone anyways. And next game we have is a game called Corpse Mob. Seems like it's a twin-stick shooter, shooting zombies, arcade game. I can kind of see what I'm supposed to be doing here, but the graphics don't look great. It's a little bit too close to MS Paint level graphics. A lot of stuff going on the screen. A lot of green on green because the grass is green, and then there's like green mists of goo on top of that. This game's $1.99, and yeah, I just don't like the way it looks. Could have been a good game though. The concept is not inherently flawed. Let's see. Do this. This. And in the turn. Gamatsu has an article that's Bandai Namco trademarks Enteria, E-N-T-E-R-T-E-R-I-A in Australia. And the only other thing they have to say there is the company has yet to announce a game with that title or subtitle. So, Interterria. I really can't get anything from that name, so let's move on. Is a Chinese game that's in Chinese. It's VR, can't pronounce the name, nor is it in English, so who cares. It said earlier I didn't filter any of the games today, so obviously we're going to run into some of those. Just keep on attacking. Next game we have on Steam is called Meow Motors, which is kids in cat outfits, it seems, doing Mario Kart style stuff. The animation in the trailer looks good. The screenshots look alright. Maybe it's not kids. Maybe it's human cats. I guess maybe it is human cats. I misinterpreted kids in cats outfits because the cats have the cats have helmets with ears, and I thought, oh, the helmet with ears was the cat elf outfit. But now that I think about it some more, it makes more sense that they are cats to start off with. Nothing looks bad here. It has single player and no online, which that kind of sucks. It's in English and Russian, which is questionable, but I'm not going to inherently knock it out of the game just because it's in Russian. It's $19.99. The 13 positive reviews, 0 negative reviews. So this is a game that has to go on my wish list. I'm kind of stretching here to see if maybe this is a scam game. It's the first game from this developer, and he's self-publishing, so like there's nothing I can take from this. It's 100% positive for 10 user reviews. So despite my best efforts of not wanting to believe, I kind of have to believe and wishlist this Meow Motors. Eventually, I am going to get probably just one Mario Kart game on Steam that works. Arguably, Rocket League is and should be in that game, even though Rocket League is doing something slightly different from a Mario Kart game. It is the most popular, most played thing that I can think of. Moving on, Gematsu has an article. The Otome visual novels by the names Sanzen Seikai Yugi and Koshin Tegai no Hashihime are coming to the PlayStation Vita. So 2 new Otome ports are coming to Vita, probably only in Japan. I'm not sure I understand what the phrase Otome means, whether that's a brand or whether that's a style.
I wonder.
I don't know. Maybe I should just search YouTube and learn. Let's see. Okay.
I
Zoom
wonder.
in. An Otome game, literally maiden game, is a story-based video game that is targeted towards women. Generally, one of its goals besides the main plot goal is to develop a romantic relationship between the female player character and several of the male game players. Alright, so now I know. And knowing is half the battle. So, yeah. I was kind of leaning towards thinking that might be the case. Well, I think Otome probably also boils down to older woman looking for older male partners, because there really isn't in anime a lot of a market for young girls looking for male models, young males. There's probably a bigger market for older women looking for young male suitors. Moving on, Gematsu has an article, Terra Battle 2 North American version to shut down on September 3rd. Hironobu Sakaguchi apologized for the unexpected struggles. This probably, if I was to guess, is a cell phone game. I didn't play that very well. I should have put this over there, but none of that mattered. Let's see. Yes. Once removed from the Android iOS store, the app cannot be installed after deletion. Should you intend to continue playing until shutdown, please be careful not to delete the app by mistake. If you have not updated to the latest version before the app was removed from Android, then you may not be able to play past this date. So, finally got one victory. Try for number 2. Customer support will no longer be offered because it's being shut down. I guess that makes sense. Not even knowing what Terra Battle 2 is, I assume it's some kind of card collection monster battle match 3 game like they all seem to be. But this might be the beginning of a movement that wouldn't be great, but it doesn't really affect me too much either. If this is the realization that those Korean and Japanese cell phone games don't sell, that is probably fine. I'd prefer people to make full price, or at least some pay at the front instead of microtransaction things. Notice this game is shutting down and it's not saying anything about the GDPR. It's not saying anything like that. It's just this game was not selling in the West because the West had never heard of it. And it is basically what I'm taking from that. Yeah, I'd like to see game developers make PC games, console games. I don't want to see anybody making cell phone games. Like, we've got enough cell phone games, and it's not like there's a thriving marketplace there. Frankly, I guess we need to drain the swamp, to use a phrase, as far as the Apple Store and the iOS Store, and just let everybody that is making games stop making games and stop wasting people's time. And then maybe in the next generation we'll have good quality games that people are willing to pay for. That was another reason why the Square Enix canceled the Go series, Lara Croft Go, Hitman Go, Tomb Raider Go. Like, they just said there was no market to sell a premium cell phone game at all. So, you know, the cell phone market right now is not a good market for selling video games. It's flooded with too many fakes. Apple and Google both have failed to stop people from having fakes. Right now there's a ton of scam ads and scam games that are like Android Fortnite beta access if you install this application, and it's always a scam. It's always a lie. Alright, moving on, we have an article from Gamatsu. Bullet Girls Fantasia has a 5-minute trailer. So this is primarily just for me. Apparently Bullet Girls Fantasia is coming to PS4 and Vita. No, not 100% sure if they're coming to the West. No, they're coming out August 9th in Japan and Southeastern Asia. They misspelled Asia. They put 2 S's with English subtitles. So this is one of those games that has destructible clothing, I immediately see. And so this is why this is not coming out to the West, is because they don't want to be in the center of controversy when selling their explodable clothing sex game. I like the trailer to improve itself a little bit here and show me more actual content of the gameplay, because right now it's just talking to the screen, which is probably explaining things. Seems like what the real game is you're playing as one of several characters running around and shooting things, or driving a tank and shooting things. And then of course the now almost completely standard groping simulator mini games. They're making big, taking a lot of time in a trailer to show the same groping simulator mini game. That's all it is. That's all it is. Like, when you have 5 minutes of your 10-minute trailer is showing off the groping simulator minigame, I guess they know their market, or they think they know their market at least, which is probably not wrong. Let's go with this. So yeah, Bullet Girls Fantasia, import that if that interests you, but frankly I wouldn't recommend it. Here we have a pop-up about what's new in iOS 12, deprecation of OpenGL ES. Apps built using OpenGL ES will continue to run on iOS 12, but OpenGL ES is deprecated in iOS 12 games and graphics-intensive apps that previously used OpenGL ES should now adopt Metal. Metal is designed from the ground up to provide the best access to the modern GPUs on iOS, macOS, and tvOS devices. Metal avoids the overhead inherent in legacy technologies and exposes the latest graphics processes. Functionality. Unified support for graphics and compute in Metal lets your apps efficiently utilize the latest rendering technologies. For information about developing apps and games using Metal, see the developer documentation for Metal, Metal Performance Shaders, and Metal Kit. So, of course, from one end, you probably are thinking, well, that must not be that hard to switch from OpenGL ES to Metal. It's incredibly hard. Most game developers are not making the game rendering video engine. The big ones, the AAA people, might be doing some of that, but usually it's in a completely different department. The vast majority of people, though, that are using Unity or Unreal now have to go put in the plugins, reprogram everything, retest everything, and it's just not going to be done. And the fear, I guess, is that iOS 13 will simply not support OpenGL ES at all. And it wouldn't be the first time for an Apple product to make something perform worse to sell you something new. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are drivers that get released that make OpenGL ES games run worse than they used to, much like the battery throttling that they finally admitted to doing, and they'd been doing that for pretty much since day one of the first Apple product, and people were claiming it was happening and they were just denying it. Or not commenting. Gamasutra has an article, Get a Job, Deep Silver Volition is hiring for a senior system designer. I'm not sure if I've covered this job several times or if they're all just blurring together nowadays. So if you want to work in Champaign, Illinois for Deep Silver Volition, let's see, I kind of want to know who Deep Silver Volition, like what did they work on? Let's go ahead and just take the victory.
Shall not save.
And move on. Let's see. Deep Silver is a premier developing studio and creates a critically acclaimed Saints Row, Red Faction, and Descent / Free Space series. Okay. So yeah, I knew I had heard of Deep Silver. It's just trying to figure out where from. Let's see, we need one more hunter victory, which it would be really nice to get a ranked hunter victory, but yeah, we'll try this. That way we have a little bit more to do. Rock Paper Shotgun haven't talked about one of their articles in quite a while. Has an article called Planet X3 is a brand new CGA DOS game in development. One, I don't care about games that are being kickstarted like this one, or games that are in development, and I certainly don't care about games being made as a CGA DOS game, which arguably, looking at the color palette I'm seeing, this does not look like CGA graphics in the first place. This is like 256 colors XGA type game. I don't even know what to call it, it's been so long. PC Gamer has an article. For over a decade, a bug on Steam meant someone could take over your PC. Don't worry, it's fixed now. The remote code execution as a descriptor for a a bug is a pretty typical one. It's a very bad one, certainly, but clearly what we saw here is it was never actually used as far as anybody knows, and it did not turn everybody with Steam installed into like a DDoS or so a lot of times these stories are just blown up and over exaggerated as in, yes, this could have happened, but it didn't, and there may have been very good reasons why it didn't that aren't getting mentioned. So it's kind of a non-story. There was a bug in Steam automatically fixed it. That's the same thing Windows does all the time. Next game we have on Steam is called Cereal Soup. It's rated mostly negative at 39% of 82 user reviews. It says it's an early access, free-to-play, massively multiplayer RPG. And it seems like you play as a wolf or dog with a funny painted face. And I like that concept, but all of the graphics look bad. Look really, really bad.
Your magic shall not save you.
Seems like there's several other kinds of animals. It's like almost a MMO where people are playing as animals, like a furry. And Cereal Soup feels like it's something like Butterfly Soup. We're trying to be similar to this. Let's see what some of the negative reviews are. Let's see. One negative review says the tutorial doesn't work. One negative review is can't create a can't know if it was created. Here we have a negative review. Every username is supposedly taken. So there's like a login automatically, and the login seems to be completely broken. Yeah, so many negative reviews just because you can't log in. Wow. That is a new one for the list, I suppose, of things to not do when making your free-to-play game, is don't make it impossible for people to log in without to not log in. I think for an early access game you need by default a skip an account, don't create an account feature, and then just warn your progress won't be saved. Yeah, Cereal Soup, I don't think anybody's gonna bother to play it, and it's free to play, so it's not really like it's a product that I'm interested in the first place. PC Gamer has an article where the water tastes like wine has added 15 more stories and automatic walking. So the automatic walking, I think, fixes some stuff. 15 more stories also adds something, but I think inherently where the water tastes like wine as a game, as a concept, just failed to intrigue people. So it's probably, I don't want to say too little too late, because I think almost anything is too little too late. You need to, I think they probably needed to get rid of the entire walking element whatsoever. They needed to just have more of a almost text-based story experience going on, where You could talk to somebody, tell them a story, interact with that one person, and then you're just shown to a map, and when you click on a point in the map, you go to another area instantaneously. And I'm not sure that the game has voice acting, so I'm not sure if a lot of that game is spending a lot of effort to read, which certainly would kill it for me. But it certainly was an interesting idea that didn't get anywhere. It probably fails as a game because of its really doesn't have any gameplay mechanics, and would have been better as a interactive storytelling experience. Let's see. PC Gamer also has an article called Indie Hard Mode, the couples making games together. We spoke to the creators of Cultist Simulator, Regency Solitaire, Overland, and more about the challenges of collaborating with your partner. This inherently, without even reading this article, which I'm not going to bother to read, can be spoken of and summed up. I'm sure they will. The right response, whatever this article says, is you can either have a partner or you can have a romantic partner. You can have a business partner or you can have a romantic partner. One of those relationships is going to suffer. So if you don't care about having a romantic relationship with your romantic partner, then this would probably not even be the best way to break that up. And if you don't care about having a business partner and would prefer to have a romantic partner, then you probably shouldn't involve them in the work much at all. Humans in general are very much our days are designed to be split up between you go to work for 8 hours, you come home and deal with family for the rest of it, and hopefully you have enough of a family support system that it's not dealing with work, it is not getting away from your rotten family, and hopefully, but probably not likely, you're not just complaining to your family about your work the whole time. Try to keep things separate and compartmentalized. There is certainly a desire to mix the two, but to quote Ghostbusters, don't cross the streams. It's a bad idea. I guess unless unless, like I said, you don't care about your romantic relationship, so and you're just using your spouse. Probably shouldn't have tried to play rank there. Come to think of it, we've now gone 2 hours, and this is a good time to break up. I need one more victory with the hunter, I believe, and maybe some more victories in some other modes that I can get pretty easily by playing these solo adventures Monster Hunt. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening. Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, June 4th, and we are on the European account, and we need to get one more regular ranked, or not ranked actually, probably victory with the Hunter and Mage. I guess maybe if I was trying to waste time I'd try with the Mage, but I guess we could try a casual tempo Mage game, but then we need to move on. Still got a ton of news. This is the third recording, and news is still a big issue, so let's just hop into it real quick. We have a game, ROA, Roa. It says rest or awake, and the O has a line on top of it. It says it's an adventure indie atmospheric colorful relaxing game. What it looks like to me is if somebody took some images and then is playing some major blurring filters over them. Just if you just use the blur tool in Photoshop over and over again, although some of the images seem to be slightly 3D and moving, but every single screenshot here looks like garbage because of it, and this game is 20% off for $2.39.
Job's done.
And the one review says, from my little time with RA, I can't find any game at all. This is more like a piece of software created to give a very small visual experience. I found it a bit nauseating and repetitive, to be honest, and downvoted purely on the fact that while this could be a neat game, it is nowhere near complete. A cool visual effect does not make a game, and it's very debatable that this is cool. I would have been much more interested when or if the developers come up with a proper game. And then the next recommended review says, this is not a game. Let's make that clear right now. So the one positive review says it's not a game. The one negative review says it's not a game. Well, seriously, we don't need non-games on Steam, or if we are gonna have non-games on Steam, let's label them in a better way, so people are put them in a completely different category in the same way that video is in a different category. You may have noticed that I've never, or very rarely, have I run into a new video that's been put on Steam via the What's on Steam Twitter feed. So they're probably filtering out videos, or maybe Steam Videos simply just does not get any new content ever. That might also be the case. PC Gamer has an article. State of Decay 2 just received a 20 GB patch. It promises increased stability, less crashes, better network interactions, and more. State of Decay 2 is the undead zombie apocalypse survival from Undead Labs and Microsoft. And when did it come out? See, that's the weird part about this is, when did State of Decay 2 even come out? If 2 days ago it got a 20 GB patch. Let's see. State of Decay 2 is on the Microsoft Store. Is it not on Steam? I guess that would explain why I don't know that it's out.
Push forward.
Let's keep going. State of Decay 2 Wikipedia. Let's see. It was released May 22, 2018.
Defend the gates.
It's got about a 70 on Metacritic. it's just not on Steam. That's the thing. It's on Windows 10 and Xbox One. I don't know why you would release a zombie survival game in limited release. That doesn't strike me as something that makes a good use of your
Push forward.
a good use of promoting that game. If State of Decay 2 was supposed to be the next PUBG, it needed to be on something like Steam so everybody could play it. If you're going to have, I would be much more understanding if things like Crackdown 3 only came to the Windows 10 store, but that too probably wouldn't work because they've already tried that with Quantum Dreams. Quantum something was a game that came out and wasn't very good. That was only on the Windows 10 store. Let's see, moving on. Gamatsu has an article, Limited Run Games E3 2018 press conference set for June 11th. A new company joins the press conference. Limited Run Games will host an E3 press conference on June 11th at 12 p.m. Which you can watch live by Twitter. Limited Run Games is a publisher of limited run physical games for PS4, PS Vita, and Switch. It works with independent publishers to release otherwise digital-only games in a physical format, albeit with limited productions. So it seems like that's almost certainly going to be a ton of Japanese games, visual novels, and things that would need small runs. I suppose dictated by what the Twitch, how Twitch works, and Twitch's own feed. Like, Twitch didn't really seem like it was going to focus on showing every stream. So this might be a good filler time slot if nothing else is going on. I don't know though. There is also a certain point where I may just very well leave the stream going with no commentary on it at all. I mean, it's still fair use at that point because it's an advertisement. Like, I don't think I really have to comment on a trailer, and there might be times where I just leave it going. So the thing I need to do here is 2 more victories. There's really not a desire in my mind to do the monster hunt all the way to the finish, but we'll just keep on playing and get victories this way. Let's see. There's this game apparently called Husky Express
The trail leads here.
HD. I don't know if this really is a game though. Let's see. Like, all I got somehow was a YouTube video, and it's an animation of some huskies and some kind of people that seem to be like somewhat related to the game, but I think it's mostly huskies. This looks like it might be like a Game Boy game or something. Well, I really don't have any news here that I can talk about other than I'm just looking at a trailer of something called Husky Express HD trailer. So I hope there's more news to talk about on that. Moving on. PC Gamer has an article, former Sony CEO and Epic Games team to fund PC first indie projects, looking to spend $1 million to $5 million per project. I think we've probably already talked about this interactive games ventures idea. It would be kind of cool, but it would also be totally insane if somebody like me, who really is way too out of touch with programming to be a programmer, and at best could be just an idea man, like manager, but would still need a manager above them to make sure everything actually got done. Like, somebody with barely an idea could get $1 million to make a game. I'd almost certainly raise it. But heck, if we lived in a world where say every government gave people a grant, it's like, here's $1 million, go and try to make a video game. It'd be fun to see how much I could actually get done, how far I could go. Inherently, I know there's lots of things I couldn't do, otherwise I probably would have tried to make a game a long time ago. Sort of, I guess I did program at one point. I may have programmed a couple other games, but old basic, QBasic game things. But I certainly don't have any kind of artistic skill or ability, so that would be an issue.
Talk about a nice suit.
Let's go ahead and bump these guys up.
Hey, lights out. Tango.
Moving on from that fantasy, PC Gamer has an article, Demolition Derby Racer Wreckfest is leaving its 4-year early access stint this month. Subtitle is Start Your Engine. So the thing I wanted to point out here is 4 years of early access. Like, that is pretty insane. Wreckfest right now is rated very positive, 90% of 135 users in the past 30 days, whereas its overall rating is much lower in the mixed ratio, with 69% of 6,441 reviews being positive. So I imagine a lot of people were upset with them taking 4 years to make this game leave early access. And who knows, the way the review system works, it's kind of weird as far as whether or not any old review counts or not. I think they generally try to move the old reviews down and focus on the newer reviews that would be more relevant. Let's see. Here's an early access review posted May 6th. Too bad this game came out in such a rough form. Now with the April 2018 update, the game is 200% the game it was when it first was released in early access. Many won't give the game a second chance it greatly deserves. I suppose, from my perspective, I should just wishlist Wreckfest. And keep in mind it took them 4 years to get out of early access, and they've been selling it for 4 years. I don't know if maybe I have the wrong thought there. This is publisher THQ Nordic, by the way, so the only reason it may have come out at all is because THQ Nordic is publishing it. It's the only game from this developer. Maybe my perspective is skewed, but it gives me the feeling that if it took them 4 years of bringing in income to finally get the game out of early access, doesn't that really imply that they're going to just abandon the
Job's done.
abandon it right after they get out of early access? Kind of in the same way that Kerbal Space Program, for the most part, was abandoned after it came out of early access. Let's see. Moving on, we have a game called Border Closure. It's a Chinese-only game, and I don't know if this is a cheap Chinese knockoff of something, or if it's just a cheap Chinese game. Looks like an RPG Maker type game, but only in Chinese, so I don't really have to deal with it. Moving on. Let's see.
First kill.
Let's see. This is, I am pretty sure, a fake game. Looks like it's a fake game from a troll developer. Maybe that troll developer that they kicked off before. Let's see. This looks like a fake game, frankly, and it's selling itself hard like, no, it's not a fake game, it's just that we're really bad. So, you know what, either way you call it, this game, Little Gun Boys, BOIS, ain't up to snuff. It's just not a good quality product, so I would put it in the category of a very low effort game, and I'm gonna close it, whether it's a troll game or not. I don't need to waste my time deciding, in my own opinion, whether it's troll or not. There's too many games not worth considering to consider another game not worth considering. Next game we have is called Doomed, which is ambitious, certainly. The trailer has you running around hallways, and the graphics look like an 80s game, and this looks like it is just a attempt at making a Doom clone called Doom. Maybe you won't get sued calling your game Doom, but also it's certainly not going to stand up to the quality of the Doom reboot. $6.99 for this again. Apparently there's a software called FPS Creator I was not aware of, like RPG Maker. Anyways, again, a game not worth considering, so let's not consider it. Let's see. Next game we have on Steam is called Green Blood. It's a top-down twin-stick shooter, shooting monsters that are leaving green blood and dropping coins. Looks kind of like an arcadey thing. It's $9.90 with no discounts, no reviews. Doesn't look awful, but I'm not sure it looks great either. The thing is, for a game like that, you almost have to give me a personal recommendation to somebody I at least partially trust, because the top-down twin-stick shooter genre is so flooded with bad product, and this could be a good product, but very short. It's the only thing this developer has ever made. They're self-publishing, so I I can't even give green blood the time of day. It might be great, but until somebody else finds it and plays it and tells me, I'm not willing to give it a fair shake.
From the depths I come.
Let's see. Aw, I just lost. I could have won.
Job's done.
Too. Not paying attention. That's always a problem. Next game we have is a game called Tank Slam. It looks like a mostly asset flip game. Early access, $4.99. No reviews. That's all I need to see for Tank Slam. Next game is a game called In Memory of Titan. There's a movie on Netflix called Titan where they're doing experiments to modify humans so that they can live on Titan, the moon of Jupiter. And it really doesn't make any sense at all because from the word go, they're going to have to do so many genetic modifications on the people that clearly they won't be human or even think like a human by the time they are capable of living on Titan. And at the end of the movie, that's pretty much exactly the case, is that the person that they did get on Titan is no longer human and no longer thinks like a human, so there's no connection there at all to save the rest of humanity. And then it really skips over the idea of what happened to Mars. Maybe the movie explained that and I just didn't catch it. But I think Mars would be a much better choice than living on Titan. This game, In Memory of Titan, is an early access RPG, indie casual strategy action game, which it's one of those space battle games that I'm not super a fan of. They're too complicated, there's too much blackness in the background. That's an odd thing to complain about, I imagine, but it is the case. English only early access, 20% off for $19.99. I'm not seeing anything here that would make this the one space battle strategy game that you'd want to play. I think a lot of these are probably based on board games where it would make more sense, or pen and paper games where it would make more sense. A different publisher than the developer, but neither one of them have done anything else. So let's close In Memory of Titan. Let's hit this, and this, and then hit this again.
Job's done.
And return. Next game we have is a game called Turn Up Genes, which is apparently an indie simulation, but it seems like this is some kind of joke game where there is a pants leg and a foot going one way across the screen, and you're just pointing in the direction that an arrow is pointing to turn up the pants leg, roll up the pants leg. So if this is not a joke, it's 99 cents for 52 achievements, so it's one of those achievement games. It's a very low effort product just in the fact that there's no logic or story there behind it. And that's all I needed to do for the European account, so we can now move over to the Americas account. It's really getting ridiculous that they still have the ads for the Witchwood playing on the Battle.net launcher. It still says log in now and get a legendary card. It still says log in now and get three Witchwood card packs, which that was over a month ago that offering was happening. And once I had taken that offering, it should have disappeared and not been this thing that seems like it's kind of mocking or lying to me. I wouldn't say mocking, lying. So we got druid and rogue victories we need. Let's do this. Come over here. I'm gonna try some rank play. Druid would be this. Or rogue would be pirates. Let's try pirates. Next game we have on Steam is called Trial of the Gods. It's a strategy action indie casual VR puzzle game. It's definitely a VR. It looks like it's a VR, almost escape the room game.
Valera versus Gul'dan.
Your soul shall be mine.
It requires VR. It's $19.99. It doesn't look terrible. Playing in a 3.3 meter by 3 meter space is highly suggested, but not necessary. Like, so it is kind of an escape the room. Yeah, even if it says at the beginning, escape from the ancient Egyptian tomb before time runs out. Not a bad idea. However, the first review says not recommended. The game is so incredibly broken it's downright unplayable. I don't know how anyone can release the game without even attempting to debug it. The game tells me I have the wrong hardware, yet I have a standalone Vive. Key items despawn and the game needs to be restarted and played from the beginning to fix it. The teleportation is atrocious. I requested a refund after 15 minutes of restarting the game 3 times and getting mad. Also, the one review so far, Brano has only ever written this review and the rest of his account is private. Be wary. So, accusations against other writers of reviews of being involved with the developer, I guess, is the accusation there, or review accusations of review manipulation. All-time peak of 2 people playing. That's a shame because Trial of the Gods looks kind of good too. But I'm not going to wishlist a broken game now in the hopes that it's not a broken game in the future. The idea certainly makes sense though. It's like have an escape room in a Egyptian tomb and try and solve the puzzles. This game, I will say, goes in kind of a ghostly way in which there's these skeletons flying around. I don't think that was particularly necessary. I don't think that's a needed direction to take it. I prefer my Egyptian mystery and mysticism to be slightly hinted at but easily explained away too. I don't want it all to be 100%. Yes, this is all magic.
Possibilities.
I don't know why that is though. Like, it should just, in my head, it should be perfectly fine if somebody wanted to tell a story where it was all Egyptian magic all along. I think inherently a lot of that may have to do with like Yu-Gi-Oh, where Egyptian magic was the excuse for a lot of things, and it was kind of just as added on element that didn't, I think, add anything to the story, nor was it really the main focus. because the cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Were the main focus. So, I don't know. When I think Egyptian, I think the Mummy movie series in particular, and a lot of game shows have done it. Anyways, moving on, PC Gamer has an article. Evolve is shutting down its dedicated service and free-to-play branch in September. The 2015 shooter never lived up to the hype. Evolve was one of the first 4 versus 1 multiplayer shooters that they spent a lot of money on, and people did not ever make any money. In September, dedicated service will stop running, which means no more ranked play, no more leaderboards, and no more in-game store. At the same time, Evolve's Stage 2, the free-to-play branch of the game, will shut down entirely. Players will keep any DLC content they've paid for, such as monsters and skins and hunters. You'll still be able to play it, but only through a peer-to-peer matchmaking in Legacy Evolve, which is the original version of the game. Stage 2 became the main version after it launched.
You will be missed.
Legacy Evolve contains Quick Play, which features all game modes other than ranked play, as well as custom games and evacuation mode, where you can play a series of 5 games as either a monster or a hunter. You'll also be able to play still against AI opponents. AI opponents may be the only people actually playing the game. While Evolve won't be fully dead, it'll be on its last legs. It's a shame, really. So, I don't know, like, when you have a 2015 shooter that had some quirks, certainly, there was a lot of bandwagging for that 4 versus 1 asynchronous gameplay was the big keyword for a while, and that pushed a lot of people. But maybe this is a valid warning to Borderlands 2, like, Borderlands 3. Maybe the story Gearbox should take away from this is that now is not the time to release Borderlands 3, because first-person shooters are not doing as well as they used to. I think that's probably the wrong message, but you know, Destiny's not doing too hot either. Battleborn didn't work. Overwatch is making alright money, but there's certainly a lot of them that aren't. Okay. Here we have a completely obviously troll game, so I don't need to talk about this. Let me just look at this developer, see how many games they've flooded Steam with so far. Just a couple. So there's still some other developers that... So maybe Gearbox is right. Maybe they are doing the right thing by waiting and timing the release of the next Borderlands series in a place where it won't be around Battlefront or Battlefield games, because that's too many first-person shooters. I think the asynchronous gameplay is the main issue, though. Like PUBG and Fortnite still are first-person shooters or third-person perspective shooters. There really isn't too much difference in the camera angle there. It's the shooter part. So maybe it's not the shooting, maybe it's the asynchronous gameplay, and I guess in general asynchronous gameplay is not something that's ever going to work. Even Nintendo, who kind of introduced that idea with the Wii U and the one player having a tablet and everybody else just having waggle sticks, they totally got away from that with the Switch. Now if 2 players are using Joy-Cons, they are doing the same thing on the Joy-Con and sharing one screen. Let's see, do I want these guys dead or alive? Let's see. 2, 4, 6, and I failed.
Job's done.
Yeah, I just totally boned that. That was a waste. PC Gamer has an article, which game series are you burned out? Our personal choices include Far Cry to King's Quest. Tell us yours. Let's see if we have the full list here. Somebody, Samuel Roberts, I'm going to just name these people as if anybody knows who they are. Says Call of Duty. Jody McGregor says The Walking Dead. Fair enough, but The Walking Dead is also on the way out. Austin Wood says Far Cry. I don't see... I guess I can see why you'd be burned out of Far Cry, particularly if you played Far Cry 3, 4, and was there a Far Cry Prime 2? But the latest Far Cry did a lot of effort to make it not be a burnout scenario, and people didn't like it for other reasons. It really didn't deserve. I played that out of order too. It really didn't get all the credit it deserved for the elements that Far Cry went through. Just Cause series is so similar to Far Cry. Chris Livingston says Just Cause, that I can understand that. Andy Chalk says King's Quest. I don't understand what you even mean with that, though. Like, there was the reboot of the King's Quest series, and then kinda nothing. So you're burnt out with old games from the 80s? Like, get serious. How could you be burnt out on them? Did you just recently play them all? Let's see. I guess this person, as I'm kind of reading, says they've also played Space Quest, Police Quest, Leisure Suit Larry, and most of the rest too. And I never felt the urge to go back. To be fair, I don't know if you call that burnout, though, in the case of a text-based parser or point-click adventure game. Like, you play that game once, and then you move forward. There's never been a real thought that you were going to actually play those kinds of games twice in a lifetime, even.
No survivor.
Because once you've done the story, you've done the story. And sure, I've played some of the Monkey Island games twice, but I don't think I'm burned out with them just because I don't want to play them a third time. Most games, I wouldn't consider being burnt out with them just because I don't want to play the game a second time. Tom Sr. says Assassin's Creed. I think that's, again, wrong, because we have with Assassin's Creed Origins a complete reboot, so all the burnout of the old series is being addressed very well. There is this hint, though. There's been a leak for Assassin's Creed the Odyssey, which will be called Assassin's Creed Odyssey, not the Odyssey. It seems like they're not sticking to the taking it slow and releasing a game every 2 years, unless the Odyssey turns out to be a side game like Assassin's Creed India or Russia or China. If it's a side-scrolling 2.5D game, that's fine, but if this is the beginning of a teaser of moving Origins, of making the sequel to Origins, you're not really following what you said you were going to do with taking your time. And there is something definitely to be said about companies not lying to you about their release schedule, or not lying to you in general. James Davenport says Resident Evil 7. And while I do think this back half of Resident Evil 7 kind of just played up the same old cliches of Resident Evil, the first half was greatly ingenuitive and new. And so a Resident Evil 8 that was all the first half of Resident Evil 7 I'd be perfectly fine with, and I don't think there's much burnout there. They should just take their time, you know, release one either this Halloween or next Halloween, or even the Halloween after that, and I'm fine. It's kind of funny how I'm saying I'm not burned out on so many games when I think most people might be able to make an argument that you're totally burned out. Like, I do. Like, I'm having a struggle playing Borderlands 2. I'm 4 hours into it. I struggled playing Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens. I've struggled to play a considerable number of games ever since January happened, and I was kicked out of the YouTube partner program. That inherently changed the feeling of the whole project, the whole channel, and added negativity that shouldn't have been added. Jared Walton says Might Magic. I can certainly see being burnt out on Might Magic, particularly if you played them all. Like, the Heroes of Might Magic series is incredibly long. If I was to ever cover it, which maybe I should want to cover it, maybe I will one day, it is just going to be a fast dash through the main story and none of the side missions. And even doing the main story will be probably very slow, so I might have to do some editing even at that point. Like, I could see myself, if my channel grew to the point where I had an editor, me playing Heroes of Might Magic in the background, making a lot of footage, and then making an editor cut and paste out all of the slow parts.
Oh yes, they'll serve me.
We got a game on Steam called Tap RPG Homeland. Let's see how many achievements it is. No achievements. Interesting. Let's see. It says action adventure RPG indie casual. It's first in the Tap RPG series, showcasing a unique style of RPG gaming. Classic top-down overworld map looking into 2D side-scrolling hack and slash. Your hero automatically runs across the levels, but defeating the enemies is not that easy. So it looks to me like this might be a cell phone port. I don't like the graphics on this game. I can say that much. I don't like the interface on this game. I can say that much.
Here we go. Too soon.
It's $1.99, and it looks like it's kind of weird to try and say that this is a new groundbreaking way to play a game, but it is kind of the combination of a top-down RPG and a tap fighter, tap hack and slash, whatever you would call that. I guess that kind of is a new concept. But because it's not visually appealing, Tap RPG Homeland doesn't catch my attention, so probably will never play it. TechRaptor has an article on Nutaku's latest RPG, Pocket Fantasy, available on PC and Android. The name of the game is Pocket Fantasy, Nutaku being the adult oriented video game store. TechRaptor, I'm pretty sure, has a sponsorship agreement type thing with Nutaku. That's why they specifically seem to be covering Nutaku more than seen other people.
Here we
Like,
go.
I've never heard PC Gamer talk about Nutaku except for in a few rare instances. As far as this game, Pocket Fantasy, right? Well, the few
I'm
pictures.
out of cards.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, at the bottom it says disclosure. Nutaku provides perks for TechRaptor members, and TechRaptor participates with an affiliate linking program with Nutaku. Some of the links in this article are affiliated. I think I'll probably eventually stop talking about Nutaku because they don't release enough games and they're not in a position really. What needed to happen with Nutaku is kind of what instead happened with good old games, and where it looks like the creators of good sexual games that are on Steam are going to good old games, or perhaps somewhere else. If they had all decided they were going to Nutaku, and then there was hundreds potentially of visual novels that were kicked off Steam that went to Nutaku, giving it a huge boost, I could see a reason to publish it. But right now it seems like they personally are just self-publishing 2 or 3 games a month, and they need to grow before anything else happens. Here we've got the Gamatsu E3 streaming press conference list. Let's see if there's anything different here. Well, they've got more talk of like the what's on the show floor, and it's on Gamatsu oriented and listed in this article a little bit better. Let's see. And they're filling in their article saying, we think this is going to be announced here, this is going to be announced here. Kind of doesn't even matter what they think. Ooh, Bayonetta 3 at the Nintendo conference, they're thinking. Well, that would be slightly interesting. But I'm not going to stream Nintendo. I'm not even going to probably watch Nintendo. Yeah, I suppose that by the time I'm streaming Monday for Hearthstone, everything will be known that is known. GameSpot will be doing its thing, IGN will be doing its thing, Twitch will be doing its thing, Mixer will be doing its thing, YouTube will be doing its thing. Whatever those things actually are, who cares? And for most of them. Is it called the Nintendo Treehouse still, or is it called the Nintendo Direct? I thought it was the Nintendo Direct now. PlayStation blog. Okay. So, they've got a big list of games here. Call of Duty Black Ops 3, Destiny 2, Fallout 76, Rage 2, The Sinking City, V-Rally 4, Warhammer 40k, Inquisitor Murder,
Our witch shall never end.
Let's see, Metroid Exodus, Serious Sam 4, Anthem, Battlefield 5, FIFA 19, A Plague Tale, Innocence, Call of Cthulhu, Farming Simulator, Fear of the Wolves, Greedfall, Insurgency, Sandstorm, Necromunda, Underhive Wars, never heard of that one, Space Hulk, Tactics, Spin Tires, Mudrunner, The Surge Complete Edition, The Surge 2, and Vampire, We Happy Feud, Call of the Guardians, Galaxy Z, Arcade Islands Volume 1, Heavy Fire, Red Shadow, Sweet Home, Pool Elite, Super Smash Brothers, Strange Brigade, Days Gone, Death Stranding, Dreams, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2, Spider-Man, Dragon Quest X 11, Dragon Quest 11 Echoes of the Exclusive Age. Let's see.
Job's done.
Kingdom Hearts 3, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Beyond Good and Evil 2, yeah, right. The Crew 2, For Honor. For Honor apparently is getting released on consoles. Was it not on consoles? Skull and Bones, Starlink Battle for Atlas, Tom Clancy's The Division 2 Transfer, and that's all they got. So there's a lot of to be announced and not talked about yet as far as games, which isn't hyper surprising.
Here we go.
I'm wondering if I'm gonna, if the thing here that I'm still running into is I think I'm gonna have to get rid of one of my plugins to make the other plugin work, because this plugin is just not stopping duplicate tabs, and I really need it to do that, just to save space. The other thing is I'm working on the calendar, and I think I've almost got it ready. I've got it set up. I just need to get it so it sets the alarms past the point in which an average person would have their phone automatically sync with the calendar. So I'm thinking maybe as much as 15 minutes in the future. So a video would come out, it would be tweeted about, it has to go through the Twitter, sadly, and then I've got a if then that, if this then that applet that I made to take the tweet, which means sometimes when I tweet something or else, that too will show up on the calendar. Apologies for that. It won't be too much. It's going to take the time that tweet came out, add maybe as much as 15 minutes to that, and make an alarm, which would mean that if you're trying to catch live, you're still not really catching live, but you'd be catching 15 minutes later, which isn't the worst ever, but it's certainly not great. But I think that's probably about as much as the calendar can have to do. I'm not sure how many people are ever going to use the calendar, but notifications are just not working anywhere right now, and I want to add yet another place where people can be notified of when videos are coming out. Inherently, we know notifications are not working. Linus Tech Tips made an interesting argument. I don't know if I fully agree with them, that whatever YouTube is doing seems to instead of whatever YouTube is doing to manipulate the subscription feed and promote videos, made up for the fact that they didn't publish one of their games, one of their videos to people, and thus people did get the notification. So for a big channel like Linus Tech Tips, YouTube is just kind of decided to show his video to random people anyways, even if they didn't subscribe. So he got the same amount of views regardless, which inherently just says that YouTube is cheating for big channels to make them more successful. Meanwhile, it's screwing over everybody else, which is exactly what I would have assumed was the case anyways. Okay.
Here
So
we
do
go.
This and do this and well, Should have played that first. That was dumb. Moving on, PC Gamer has an article. New Vegas prequel mod Fallout New California gets an October release date. A brand new story with 12 endings. I don't know why anybody is holding your breath or announcing this, because almost certainly it's just going to get DMCA'd. There is also a rumor that Fallout 76 will not allow mods at all except for through the Creation Club. Therefore, they want to cut for any mod, and thus I imagine they're also going to push people heavily to not make free mods. Let's see. 3 damage to kill something. Alright, we'll do this. And then this.
The pirate's code.
And
Here we
I
go.
guess we'll kill this in return. So yeah, I seriously doubt it will come out. If it does, oh well. I heard of a mod where you can play Fallout 3 in the Fallout 4 engine, which might improve a little bit. It's an interesting idea. I think more and more as I'm thinking about it, though I'd much prefer to play out Fallout New Vegas over Fallout 4, and I'd probably still prefer to play Fallout New Vegas over Fallout 3. And depending on what Fallout 76 is, I think that will also help solidify determinations as far as
Desperate seas I roam.
whether or not the game is worth people's time. Okay.
Here we go.
I'm gonna hit this, do this, and then play this. Finally do this.
Dead tell no tale.
I'm going to
Let
kill
me go
this,
home.
and then attack here, and then return. PC Gamer has an article, as sexual content on Steam has threatened developers look elsewhere. This was from 3 days ago, but I don't think this article really has anything new to say. It seems like maybe a few more companies have responded to PC Gamer's request to be interviewed, but inherently there's not been any new developments on this story. There is a cut content police curator group on Steam that I've followed to show games that are on Steam but have cut content. I imagine that's what the games they're recommending or maybe not recommending. There is speculation certainly that Steam's application to have the Steam app on Apple iOS may have been part of the reason why they sent out those letters, but then since they have now given up on that, it's more likely that oops, that was stupid.
No survivors!
Let's just kill this.
Here we go. Too soon.
I'm raising here. People are spectating now, so people are seeing me lose. Yeah. Like, we still have no response there. Did the potential kicking out of games of visual novels on Steam have something to do with them trying to get approved on iOS, now that it's been made pretty clear that Apple won't let him on iOS? Does that change anything or make anything make a difference? sadly, so often in news, you get the beginning and you never get the end. This is probably going to be one of those games. One of those situations. Here's one of those games called ROS that's just about achievements, so I'm going to just close it since it's just a fake game. PC Gamer has a new an article about the new trailer for Battle Princess Madeline, the game quote-unquote co-created by a 7-year-old. That's not really true. Basically, all this game is Ghosts and Goblins. Effectively, it's not Ghosts and Goblins from, like, it's not a shot-for-shot remake of Ghosts and Goblins with a female protagonist, but it's just that, or Ghouls and Ghosts, whichever ones you want to call it. The father in this Kickstarter, this disingenuousness here. The father was a programmer from the beginning. The father was working on trying to make a Kickstarter and trying to make a project. He took the fact that maybe, just maybe at one point, his daughter asked him why he can't play as a female, and then went rah feminism and tried to get people to fund this game. And it has worked at least a little bit in the fact that it is getting PC Gamer, which are pretty rah feminism and other things, I'm sure, into covering a game that really doesn't deserve to be covered because it's not out. It has no release date. It has no guarantee whatsoever that it should be that it'll ever come out. It does have a Steam website, so I can watch it, I can wishlist it, and the game itself might be programmed well and done well. So when the game comes out, I'm more than willing to criticize Battle Princess Madeline, or Battle Knight Madeline. What is the name of it? Battle Princess Madeline. I think inherently there's, if you're trying to go for equality here, you don't have the princess as the knight in the game. You have a knight, so it should be Battle Knight Madeline.
Here we
but because I can't off the top of my head think of any game where you play as the knight who is actually the king. Maybe Heroes of Might and Magic, you play as the king, controlling the troops, but then you're usually in the back not fighting. So yeah, you're still pandering to some princess stereotypes that girls quite often are socialized to at an extremely young age. The whole pink aisle in the toy department argument, which more and more it's not a pink aisle, but it's still kind of the same thing. Like, a great example is that, are Nerf guns for little boys or little girls or everybody? There's really no reason why Nerf guns shouldn't be for everybody, or nobody, depending on whether or not you want your kids playing with toy guns. But there was a whole series of Nerf Rebels that were specifically designed Nerf guns for girls that were pinker and just like silliness.
Here we go.
Job done.
So moving on, there's a game on Steam called Trap Defense. It looks like garbage. It's early access for 59 cents with 40% off. That's easy enough to ignore. Moving on. Next game we have is called 321 Survive. It looks like garbage. It's 99 cents with no discount. Moving on. Like yeah, this is kind of an Asteroids clone. Next game we have is called Intelligence: Anime Girls, which is a tile slider puzzle game with some anime girls as the pictures. It's 35% off for $1.29, which certainly it seems like they think they can charge you extra if they throw in some anime characters. Yeah, it has 12 achievements, which makes me think there's only 12 puzzles in the entire game. Let's see, so that's garbage too. Next game we have is called Witch Hunt, which is rated very positive, 90% of 98 user reviews. It's an early access adventure action gore game, and it's a horror themed hunting game. Takes place in the 18th century. Main focus of the game is exploration, non-linearity, and atmosphere. So you're wandering around the creepy forest, and it is kind of like, I guess, a Blair Witch idea, except for the fact that I think there's probably, you're actually hunting a witch because you have a couple of guns. So this is clearly just one of those Unity games. You're actually having to reload the guns with gunpowder and bullets from like entire reload animations. This trailer is interesting. It's English, Russian, and simplified Chinese, but I don't know. Give me something to ignore this game, because otherwise I'm gonna have to wishlist it. It has 96 positive reviews, so there's some major vote manipulation if there's that many positive reviews to 10 negative reviews. The first not recommended says, I have mixed feelings on this game. It has great atmosphere, and it's very spooky, walking through the woods and hearing a bunch of startling noises. However, the game itself revolves around hunting a witch in the forest. The witch is apparently invisible unless you have mana. Unfortunately, your mana depletes itself if you are close to the witch, and depletes faster the closer you get. In my experience, this essentially means you have 30 seconds or less to track down and kill the witch before your mana runs out. Your heartbeat and mana tells you when you're getting close, but it's no indication of which direction you should be going. When it runs out, the witch is completely invisible and unkillable. And then the next not recommended says, lacking content makes for boring gameplay. Let's see. This and this.
Here we go.
Did that. I was really stretching to find a reason to not like this game, and I think I found it. The other games made by this developer are all mixed, and that's more of a... Oh, this is also the developer that made that game Gynophobia, which is the weird spider game, spider/woman phobia. So that Jim Sterling covered, so I could also see why there's more people promoting this than there should be. Yeah, I'm gonna ignore Witch Hunt. It's not quite a game in its gameplay mechanic, and that's what kills it.
Desperate seas I roam.
The pleasure is mine.
Let's do this.
Let me
kill
go
this.
home.
And the turn. Next game we have is called Open the Door. It looks like a low effort asset flip of a game. English and simplified Chinese, 99 cents, so the price is right. Let's see. 3 positive reviews, 0 negative reviews, which doesn't mean anything. Yeah, the random assortment of 3D elements that, to be fair, look alright. It looks kind of like you're in this a set up game show room in some of them. It screams low effort though. So unless this developer made something else, which they haven't, I'm gonna open the door as a game. I think I may have even talked about that game already.
The pleasure is mine.
Let's do this.
Here we go.
Do this. And let's go ahead and end the turn right there. And we already talked about Trial of the Gods, which gets me to the Humble Monthly Bundle. And the latest bundle is Arma 2018 bundle.
Well played.
Let's see, we're about to die, right? Yep. So we're in a bad position. We're 12 minutes over an hour. And I've got a lot of things on Twitter to look through, because I didn't do that first pass on Twitter. And I desperately need to get at least one victory today, if not 2, if not 5. So I need to roll this down to this, and I mean there's really nothing else I can do. If I try to play Beast 5+ on the Druid, I'm gonna lose even more. It really is time to get rid of these decks and build a new deck. Maybe we'll do that during the E3 stream, and then I'll just, in the background as I'm doing nothing else, maybe I'll rebuild all my decks in Hearthstone, because hsreplay.net's not working for me. Alright, so now I'm going down my Twitter feed once I'm done. Here E3 is saying win a 3-day pass to E3.
Your soul shall be
really?
mine.
How many people could even enter that? You'd have to be pretty much within driving distance of Las Vegas. See, the WB Games Hitman announcement on June 7th is Hitman 2. Which, okay, the question now kind of becomes, is Hitman 2 going to be like Hitman 1, where it's just this year of expansions, or is Hitman 2 going to be a very single player linear story based thing, and was Hitman in some weird way an attempt to break away from Square Enix? Like, was the weird way in which Hitman 1 released piecemeal an effort to break away from Square Enix? Let's see. THQ announces that Red Faction Guerrilla the remastered edition release date. I don't know why you're getting in front of EA with that. I guess maybe THQ Nordic thinks they have more to say. Which maybe they do, maybe they don't. Warframe's next game expansion is less than a month away, according to PC Gamer. There's a game called Awkward now on Steam. We don't need to talk about that now. We'll talk about that on Wednesday.
So many possibilities.
NBN chief blames poor peak hour internet on gamers. Will consider throttling them. Australians' crap internet in regional areas is your fault. Interesting. So, the person in charge of the internet in Australia is blaming people. Sounds like a regular AT&T type company. Let's see. Next article we have from Game of Switch. Porting iOS games to macOS should be easier next year, says Apple. Yeah, it should be easier because of the fact that they're making them compatible, but it also means that macOS's store is going to get flooded with terrible iPhone games that you really wouldn't want to play on macOS. Let's see, here's what we think after a few hours of Far Cry 5's Hour of Darkness DLC. So Far Cry 5 has got some DLC out there.
X marks the spot.
Here we
It is really weird every now and then hearing what I assume is Borderlands 2 playing music in the background, and it has to be. It's just this really, really quiet instrumental string section that people are gonna hear and be like, what is that? Let's see. Let's keep on scrolling down. The creators of Darksiders 2 and some other people are liking my videos for covering Darksiders 2, which is great and all, but the actual number of views that YouTube says people have watched that series have been 0. So they're liking a tweet, but they're not even watching it. So like, my target audience is not the actual creators of the video games, although it is very, very nice when creators of video games do watch my content and listen to my criticism and maybe even learn from it. But inherently it tells me that there is no connection between Twitter and people liking a tweet to a YouTube video and people actually watching a tweet, watching a YouTube video. Let's see, Game of Switch UK ad regulator hits out at gambling sites with game ads that particularly appeal to children. Let's see. I think what I'm gonna have to do is stream. I think I'm gonna have to scroll down really far. 6 hours ago, Full Throttled Remastered Episode 4 happened on my channel, by the way.
Will be missed.
Let's see, Unreal Engine retweeted PC Games in. How do you update Left 4 Dead for modern day? That is an interesting idea, certainly. I set it up so that my Twitter feed wouldn't ever get suspended, and that didn't seem like that really did anything. And I looked in the settings of Twitter and double checked, and yes, all of my feed is supposed to be in chronological order, but it's not. Like 2 hours ago, Hearthstone number 914 airs. Gigabyte is interestingly selling these. They look like they are sticks of RAM for your motherboard that have LEDs that change color on the top, but they don't have any actual RAM in them, and I'm not even sure how it works, frankly. But It's working somehow. But yeah, that's like kind of a crazy idea to have a stick of a piece of plastic that goes in your RAM slot that lights up, but is an actual RAM, just to make it look pretty. I wonder if the colors just phase through different colors, or if there's some kind of way, some kind of software can communicate with them. I imagine there's some kind of way the software communicates with them. I've never been one, though, that really likes to decorate computers and make them flashy like that. I'd much prefer just well, frankly, I prefer to keep the products. Let's do this and this. Might as well, I'm going to die anyways. And then
here we go.
Do this. TechRaptor has Vampire VAMPYR review, so that'd be interesting for Wednesday. I think I've hit the point where Mega Man 11 for Switch is digital only in Europe. THQ's Red Faction Gorilla Remaster is out in July. So Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition Episode 5 aired 4 hours ago on my channel. This weird mix, still very weird mix. PC Gamer Windows server versus network attached storage, which is better for a home server? That's an interesting question. Like, the solutions to get network attached servers or run some other kind of servers are not very polished in any of the cases. So there's definitely some weirdness.
Here we go with taunt is in the way.
Arg. PC Gamer has a Bloodstained Curse of the Moon review. I bet they love it. If I'm just gonna risk a guess. We're almost done. I know we're 23 minutes over, but I recently was able to break up and upload all of my Hearthstone videos for the past month or so, and every single stream I went over at least 20 minutes on that final recording. So I'm not sure that inherently changes anything or makes any problem, but it does scream some issues of my inability to get things done in the amount of time I want to get things done.
This was not in my contract.
Here we go.
Let's keep on scrolling. And of course I'm scrolling past a lot of stuff I have already seen. I didn't follow new people, so it seems a little odd that there's so few tweets from what's on Steam, but that could have also been just a factor of maybe not too many people have decided to release games the week before E3. Or it could be a factor of it being Monday, and because it's Monday, a lot more news has come out. in the end, I'm just gonna have to get all the way down to the bottom like every other time to make sure I've seen everything I can possibly see. I'm debating whether, when I get around to buying a new SSD, whether I should buy a 1 terabyte SSD that would have more space for games, or if I should take my half terabyte SSD I have now and just buy a faster version of that. This. This. That. Return. It might be better to just have a faster SSD, and then I could record videos directly to the old SSD and then have the games run off the other one in the hopes that that would be slightly faster.
Shadow.
Ideally, I'd want a bigger SSD that is also faster, just to move every metric up, but the price is very high. More than is, I think, reasonable. And of course, I also need more regular hard drive space. My file history hard drive that's been a backup to a backup of my footage is full. Meanwhile, YouTube is saying they're going to delete the original versions of videos, yet they've given no indication whatsoever as to how you can download those originals or save them to something else. So YouTube is just more and more trying to delete people's videos, literally. I'm just losing like crazy. I don't even want to do silent post shows anymore. Yeah, you're gonna get a lot of me this weekend. So I know that there's things that need to be done. Definitely at least one daily quest, one victory needs to be had, and we're not getting it right now. Which always sucks. I very rarely get winning streaks and very, very often get losing streaks. And I'm in a losing streak right now. If I can just try to very, very quickly continue scrolling down and hit the bottom. Is that it? Nope. So, I need a victory in the Asian account, and I need one victory with the Druid or Rogue, 2 victories with anything, and then after we've gotten 2 victories with anything, I could play 3 games in Monster Hunt, or to get the others. And let's see, I'm just trying to really scroll down as quickly as possible. I should be at the end, close to the end. Maybe it's my ad blocker is part of the issue. Maybe my ad blocker is really just screwing up Twitter and putting things out of order. I looked for a plugin that would set Twitter back into a chronological order. It doesn't seem like there is any. Alright, made it to the bottom. And yes, Gunfire Games liked my video like they've done for everyone, so I appreciate that. Alright, that's gonna be it for the stream. It's been a very quiet one as far as the chat. And so, did I get any notification today of my video coming out? I don't think so. I think that's pretty much never happening now. I'm gonna go and check some settings just to double check that, but because let's see. Basic information. It's like advanced settings. Nobody was on the chat. Let's see. And let's scroll down here. Like, I don't even see that there. They've changed it. It seems. There's this new category under this called promotions that I think is the new way of doing things. Alright. That's good to know that YouTube has changed something yet again. Let's see if this is the same on uploaded videos. Ah, yes, there is under now a category called distribution options. Publish this to subscription feeds and notify subscribers, and then there's a question mark that will probably say, actually, no, we don't do that. Weird Monday. I'd say definitely, yeah, I did get any kind of notification that was happening, that I was streaming at all today. Thanks a lot, YouTube. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. If you want to support me even further, because we all know YouTube isn't, gift me a game on Steam or a gift card. The summer sale is coming up pretty quickly here. As always, thanks for watching. Have a